it real.
So
Perfect. We're not going to be able to hear it.
No, I know.
Turn Bobby up and turn yourself down more.
Okay.
Please. Yeah, just go all the way to that.
I'm
mute
bumped down.
section.
Bobby, which one are
we
you?
got Johnny on the board? This is my dream come true.
No.
I bet
No.
it is.
How
It actually
interesting.
isn't.
I am worse than Bobby.
Dang it!
Which one's
But the good news is you won't
Bobby?
be able to hear it.
Yeah,
It's
I won't
on
be able to
headphones.
hear it.
You want Bobby up?
So Danny says I need to be up.
All
Are we
right,
live
there we
right
go.
now? Did you push us live?
Are we live?
Yes.
We're live.
Whoa.
Cool.
Hey.
Live.
Jeez.
Oh, hey, we're live.
Hey.
We'll do it live.
I did just get a notification.
Oh shoot,
It says
I can't do
quality
that.
good, but I think that's subjective.
That's questionable for sure.
Some
YouTube
people
is still
might
broken.
argue.
Oh,
it says quality
sounds
good.
like, pause.
It sounds like we are live.
Yo. This
How-
is like
how am I-
Voltron.
How am
Yeah,
I
this is
volume
great.
wise, Danny? Do I need to get closer or farther away or what? Sweet.
So you guys coordinated, right? With your pink?
Well,
Yeah.
as
I mean,
per
yeah,
usual.
Salmon.
Salmon.
Isn't it
Yeah.
salmon
Yeah,
or
well,
lobster?
Yeah, salmon.
Okay.
Lobster's
I mean,
much
that's
more
what
red than
commentators
this
do.
What was I thinking?
Come on.
What is this? Oh, hey. So, are you liking that Canon M50 for the vlogging and stuff?
If I vlogged more, I would probably tell you I like it more.
Okay, because I've been vlogging with the Sonys, and of course they don't have the flip around
Yep, sure.
screen. And so Danny took the D70 that we have, and I started using the D70 again. I was like, man, I really still like
Love
that.
the flip
Yes,
screen.
because I can make sure I'm in frame, or whoever needs to be in frame is in frame. And I've been thinking as a, I might get that for me personally because it's
There you go.
it's good for that.
It's a good present for yourself.
Because what, about $900?
No. This was I got this a year ago.
Yeah.
It had just come out. We got it at Best Buy.
Literally on their way here.
On the way here last year, and I picked it up and I thought I'm gonna start doing some more old school vlogs. I'm gonna do it all the time.
Yeah. How'd that
Yeah,
go
it
for
hasn't
you?
quite fully happened. So I
It's
committed.
first
to
time he's
myself.
using it.
So, but
So and this is time number one.
So how
It's
much
the
was
anniversary.
it?
It's the anniversary vlog.
Is it under 1,000?
Yeah, I want to say the body
It's like
is.
7,000. You can just pay me and I'll go
Sure.
pick it up for you.
I want to say the body is about 550 or
I'll get you a
600.
deal.
Actually,
Oh, okay, that's not too
And
bad.
then the
So-
lens.
Heck of a deal.
yeah, it was. I know
right,
when I
all-
got the whole thing, it was under 1,000 even then.
We already got Joseph Thornburg with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks. That's
Let's
a
go to
dollar each.
Smashbox.
That's a dollar
Hey.
each.
$1 per. Sweet. I think that's how that works.
We need to
That's
invite
great.
you more often so we get more super chats.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's
Me
see.
a little low.
All right, so guys, you have tuned in.
All right, there we go.
You have tuned in early because we're trying to get audios adjusted, but we will start the audio podcast here in a minute once we get everything adjusted. We want to thank you, YouTube viewers, for joining in. Of course, you know from the post that we have special guests Terry Miller and Johnny Van sounds German.
It's Dutch, but
Did you expect anything less?
No.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure.
I don't know how to pronounce words,
Johnny Van.
but they are in the house. They just got here. When did you get here?
McCabe, is that Spanish?
2:30.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Spanish descent.
We got in about 2:30.
El McCabe.
About 2:30 this afternoon, we decided to hit the road last night. Got about 5-6 hours or so in. We wanted to get some time under our belt there, and then made the rest of the trip this morning. So
Excellent.
beautiful visit to Cameron, Missouri. Highly recommended.
Yeah?
So, of course,
Nice.
they are here to do live coverage of the 2019 Glassbone Open, which is going to be the most covered disc golf event with live coverage for MPO and FPO1,
Every day.
post-produced MPO1, MPO2, and FPO1, and then FPO2, and then, of course, MPO3. So
my
we've got
gosh.
a lot of disc golf, and then, of course, some of the videos of the...
Quick math. That's a lot of
That's a
coverage.
lot of the other activities coming out on the Dynamic Disc YouTube channel.
That's a
you
whole
know,
lot.
You guys know we like to have fun on the vlog scene, so yeah, we're gonna have good stuff. So how we sounding, Danny?
Robert's a little bit hot,
I'm too.
but only when you go, aha!
Just a little bit.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're
Just
good.
a
Yeah,
wee
just a little
bit.
bit.
Thank
Just a
you.
wee bit.
So I don't need to. Okay.
Oh, Mr. R.J. Baker with a super chat for GBO 2019.
Hey.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's
Thank
rock.
you so much. We really appreciate that. That you're thinking, where does that money go? That money goes so that we can have nicer mics, we can have nicer studio setups. So yeah, so thank you so much for that.
So it's their fault that you can do all this.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I've got a button here I'm supposed to press at times.
Every
Yes.
yes.
Wow.
Let's see. No, because I almost want to say for every $5, I will keep it real. But I don't want to do that. I think that's mean. I think
Whoa.
that's like solicitation or some kind of
Solicitation, he said.
That's really below Smashbox. We don't do that kind of thing. We don't pander to our audience.
No gimmicks.
No.
Not at all.
But if you'd like to become a patron of our channel, you
That's
can check
right.
out patreon.com.
Rick, another super chat with Rick. He says, Terry, have a rock star on me.
Yep.
So apparently I owe you a rock star,
Oh,
Terry.
well, that's very generous.
Can I
Thank
just
you
call
very
you
much.
a rock star and keep it at that?
No,
No,
I
okay,
need a
I'll
rock
get you-
star.
I'll get you a
I need
rock
a
star
sugar
for
free
sure.
rock star. That's what I need.
All right, so
See, now I'm confused. I was told when we showed up that all of those super chats were actually the dinner fund. So I'm a little confused about. Nah, maybe.
Well, you're easily confused, so we're okay.
That's true. That's true.
You're easily confused.
All right, so Danny's making some adjustment on the camera,
That's
and then
wrong.
once we do that, we will get going, and then we'll set up the audio so we can record. An
Now
actual
let me get this
podcast.
straight. You have someone that actually like adjusts cameras and audio and all that other stuff. Like
Yeah. I'm
seriously, what are we doing? We're not doing this
we
right,
have,
Johnny.
Usually we have two guys. That do it.
No, it's way more even than
You
that.
guys are big time.
Yeah.
Johnny
Hey.
just presses a button once in a while. It's
But
usually late.
with more Patreon support, we will get our own Danny Lindo
We'll fly Danny in every week.
every Tuesday night.
every Tuesday night.
Yep.
All right, I
yep.
think I have the setting right, but it looks like we have a request for me to keep it real.
With more.
So hit the
Okay.
episode for sure.
Move on.
All right, Robert says, "Let's go." Oh, why am I reading every comment?
I'm expressing my excitement.
You
He's
are
ready to
excited.
go.
Yeah.
You were just on Smashbox like
Let
a
us
week
go.
ago.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. I can touch you now.
That's right. What's up? Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's up?
And we don't have AJ sitting next to me.
That's true.
All right, we'll get the audio adjusted and everything fixed so we can start talking. I don't want to
AJ
lose
kills me, man.
some
He's
of the
funny.
topics we talk about for the audio. So how we sounding, Danny? YouTubers, send in some questions though on the chat, and if you have any specific questions that you've been scared to ask on the Smashbox show, but now the veil has
Wow.
been lifted. Now you can ask those
We're an
questions.
open book now.
Yes,
Yep.
this is all. What do they call it? No holds barred.
AMA.
Yeah.
You can bump Bobby just a little bit and then we're set.
Rick says, "See you fellas tomorrow." Looks like he's coming out to the Glass
There we go,
Open.
Rick.
Glad to have you out in.
Is that Rick Cushane? Rick, I hope you
sure
got
is.
your rental all taken care of, and we'll see you
need to
tomorrow
look
night.
at
Yes.
Unless
getting
somebody
some
wants to
sort
go.
of-
Let's just hope that he rented a hotel in Emporia, Kansas. Not
Yeah.
like Thomas, who rented one in Emporia, Virginia,
Oh,
for the week.
no.
Yeah.
Thomas who?
Thomas Ekstrom. You know,
It's his first time
Latitude
here.
64.
Yeah,
Like the one
first
who's
time.
visited here
Yeah.
It's
before.
the first time.
To be
You
fair,
know
he's
those
Swedish.
letters next
Oh
to
my
a city?
gosh.
That's called a state.
Wow. So is he on the hook then for
It's called a
for the hotel or? how'd
I'm
that
not
work?
sure. I don't know. I heard this yesterday. I haven't heard what else happened from it yet, though.
He posted something that said everything's good to go.
Okay. Whoops.
If it was his first time here, I honestly could understand
Yeah,
that.
of course.
But
of course.
he's been here a dozen times.
Bobby, you've probably
Maybe
got to
more.
have like a. There's got to be a monitor in here that you could probably go right to your. It must be us.
It's you guys.
You're
Our
definitely
show-
too buff. That's always been, that's usually
Yes.
what the problem is for you.
Our show typically never buffers.
Yeah.
It
Well,
really doesn't that often.
now that we're bringing so much more knowledge to the table, it's got to put it all through the
true.
pipeline.
Man, okay,
Exponential.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Freaking out.
We
I
need
could
some-
understand
We
that.
need some more bandwidth stat.
I talked to ValueNet. They actually pumped up your bandwidth, and I talked to Josh at
Yep.
ValueNet, and I said, "Hey, could you? I'm at the country club, and I see I've got like 50 by 50. I'd love a little more." He's like, literally 5 minutes later, he's like, "Done. Now I've got 100 by
Nice.
100.
Dude, 100 is
Not
nice.
bad." And the guest network there has like a gigabit connection now.
Seriously.
Yeah.
What's up?
So we'd like to thank you, ValueNet, for all the
ValueNet,
support
Yes,
here.
ValueNet,
And-
my favorite cable company in the country.
They are awesome. Yeah, if you go in like July, they'll carry you away like a bat.
Wait, guess what? We just got like 6 more days. Wait, 5 more days. Wait. Yeah.
What?
Lots more days.
When are you going back?
And we're
I'm going back
we're back
And we're live.
the week of Junior Worlds.
So you won't be here?
I'll be here the first day.
Oh. So I wanted to see it. All right.
Are you coming back to Junior Worlds?
I am. I think Bobby and Doug invited me back. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Super excited, yeah.
You're covering the 6 and under women, the girls.
That's right. Shot by shot coverage.
Yep. That would be
All right,
so
we
sick.
are back
live.
live trying to fix things. Fixing things, technical stuff is really fun. It's really cool.
Wow, you got. I thought we were the only ones that had technical difficulties.
This is the first time
This is
we've
the
ever
first
had
time
it.
we've ever had it.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank
Now you guys know what it's like.
It's a new experience.
So if you
for
ever
us.
wanted to,
And it's funny, it's the episode that you were actually here. So
Glad you can see it.
Sabotage.
sabotage. All right, so what do you think, Danny? We're
El
good.
Savaggio.
All right, so Johnny V, if you could do me a favor, see the blinking light on the field recorder. Yep, tap it once. Is it solid?
It is.
Perfect. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Disc Golf Answer Man. I am Bobby Cool, Daddy Slick Breeze, and we have a super duper fantastically special episode. In the house is SmashboxxTV with Terry Miller and Johnny Van, some German Dutch thing.
German Dutch name.
And then,
Close
of course,
enough.
Robert McCall and Eric McCabe. We are here for Glass Blown Open Week, and we just thought with Smashbox being here, we had to have them on the show.
Let's set our feud aside.
Yes, let's
Momentarily.
all differences
Set
aside.
our differences aside.
We maybe later we'll have the debate on the #1 disc golf podcast, but for right now, we'll
Right.
go ahead and just
I thought we
stake
were,
the claim
like,
as you are on our show.
The number 2.
And we
Yeah.
yes,
I didn't
I thought
think
we
there
were
was a
battling for
debate.
the second
I
best.
didn't think
Yeah.
there was a
Final round
Yeah.
radio, right? Everyone knows.
Yeah,
it.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
I heard.
We
All
can
I
agree.
know is
Yeah.
They said it, so that means it is true. Correct, right?
Yeah.
So
It's
on the internet.
In their intro, they say it. That means it's true.
from what I've heard, Jomez has the #1 podcast. I'm just saying.
Oh yes. If
People
only
are always
Joe
asking
Nez
for 'em.
Would do podcasts. Disc golf would be.
Just saying.
We'd
they've
have
got-
to stop.
They've
miles
got the
ahead.
#1.
How does their slow med sound
Yeah, see, come on, man.
on audio?
Johnny
So I
asking
will-
the hard-hitting question.
I will start by apologizing that you're going to have 5 different people talking probably at the same time at certain points of the podcast. So you're just going to have to pay attention. Hopefully you don't have 5-speaker surround sound on. Otherwise, you're just going to really just
That
be
would be
like,
awesome.
It's like we're there.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're here at Glassbone Open Week. A lot going on. It's Monday night. We've already had 2 days of activities, a bunch of C tiers. But Eric McCabe,
What's up?
one of your big things is putting the course together, getting the course put together.
No.
With the, oh no.
Courses.
Okay. Yes. Screw it. Courses.
Multiple.
I know over the. I think it was Wednesday, Thursday of last week.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
You were out there painting. Tell us real quick. What do the courses look like?
They look amazing.
Yes.
I'll say probably the one that looks the best. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything here.
All right.
Is Muni.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
It's
nice
green
and
It is
and beautiful.
so green. I wish, and this may sound bad, but I really do wish that the Emporia Country Club had the funding that the Muni has, because it's city owned, so
Yeah,
it's a little easier for
Yeah.
them to be able to water everything, do everything correct. Not that the country club looks bad by any means, because it actually looks better than it's ever looked. Like the fairways are green, like usually it's kind of yellow and dead, but no, country club looks amazing too. But the Muni, oh my goodness, I
Yep.
cannot believe how beautiful it is out there.
Nice. Yeah. So
It's
a
a
lot of
beaut.
people have been remarking about how things are looking and stuff like that. Real quick, Robert, we've had C tiers going on Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
As a person that enjoys playing disc golf, not
Yeah.
always good at it, but as a person that enjoys it.
Hey, can we get a quick ratings check? Is
Oh,
that
sorry.
awesome? Okay, got it. Okay, cool.
No. As someone that loves and enjoys playing disc golf, every opportunity they have, what is it like to go to a tournament that has, before the event, before the competition starts, you've already had a chance to play 5 or 6 rounds, rated rounds.
Right. Super cool for people who are into it. I'm right now not into
Not
it.
into
No. Turns out we got some stuff going on.
Sure.
I don't know if you've heard about it, but yeah, I think one of the coolest things about GBO is that by the time you play the tournament, if you signed up for each of the C tiers, you'd have already played like you said 5 or 6 rated rounds before you even get into the A tier or the national tour.
Isn't it like 20 something
It's-
sanctioned rounds?
Yeah,
Maybe
it's-
not that
if
high,
you
but
if you played all of them,
yeah,
hit 'em all.
yeah,
it'd
that's
be
what I'm saying.
nuts. Yeah,
which
you would die.
Yeah.
But yeah, just super cool. And the thing I love about that is like you can have a great experience and play well one day and get some payout from that. Maybe you don't play well in the main event, but hey, you still made, I guess, your money's worth for playing those events.
That's what I did last year. I cashed at one of the
Heck
flexes.
yeah.
So
Let's go.
yeah.
Which one?
The one that was at it looked like a community college. It's a wide open.
Yeah. Flint Hills Tech
Flint Hills
College.
Tech,
yeah, Tech College.
Cool. Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, I won that one. It was pretty nice.
That's
So now
awesome.
to our guests, of course, our special guests that have just arrived today. I think you said about 2:30 today.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit, Johnny V. You've been here several times to Emporia, Kansas, in the Glassbone Open. How would you describe the atmosphere once you get here to someone who has never been here, that's only seen pictures or videos?
It's like a family reunion.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't go anywhere without somebody seeing a disc golf logo, or one of the many establishments asking, "Are you here for the tournament?" Or, "Hey, I know you. Good luck this weekend." It is honestly like one of the biggest family reunions. It's the way I feel that Worlds used to be, and it's less like that since we've split up Worlds, and now I kind of feel like GBO is that.
Absolutely. Speaking of people recognize you, I had kind of some people call it a gut check or a disc golf celebrity check. I walked into a gas station to pick up some Gatorade because I was lacking on the drinking of water. And they noticed my Dynamic Disc shirt, and they said, "Are you here for the tournament?" And I said, "Well, actually, yes, I am. But I'm actually here every day because I live here." Of course, they kind of chuckled. But anyway, good fun there. So, Terry Miller, you're the seasoned guy that have been out to a bunch of tournaments to cover tournaments, filming, covering live, covering for your disc golf guy, or just out there just creating highlights. You've seen a lot. How does the Glassbone Open compare to, I don't want to say compare, but talk to us a little bit about, through your eyes, the Glassbone Open.
Well, I feel like it's a lot of those bucket list events that people talked about for many years, and I think of a Greg Schwartz, and I think of a Robbie Olson, a couple of guys who came down here many years ago, and people such as them would come back and they would talk it up, and I was always, yeah, whatever. You're going to
Okay,
Kansas.
dude.
You're
Yeah.
going to Kansas.
Yeah,
like,
how good could it
how
really be?
great is this? And it was kind of one of those things where you heard so much about it. And I'll say I liken it for many years to like a Beaver State before I finally got to a Beaver State. You hear people always raving about whether it was the courses or the facilities or the people or the atmosphere or whatever it was. They had something to rave about. And Glassbone was the exact same way, where people kept talking about it. And that's, I'll say, only when it was a few hundred people big.
Right.
And then finally, was it probably 2014 maybe was our first year here for live.
Oh, yeah.
2014 or 2015. We started Smashbox in 2014. So I think it was 2014. And then we came and we're like, okay, yeah, I got it. Like, I never want to miss.
Yep.
This makes sense now.
Yeah, this place is pretty amazing. Everything that's been done up into that point, and then you've only grown and expanded and improved on. It's just, it feels cliche to talk about the hype, and then you go there and you experience, like I said, then you get it, you understand, and it's a must-hit place. And I was talking to another friend this weekend at a tournament. And he's like, well, I went and it really wasn't for me. All that extra stuff's not really for me. And I'm like, you have to pick and choose as to what you're seeking. Do you care about as much golf as possible, where you could play 20 different sanction events or sanction rounds? Or do you care about, the socializing? And maybe golf's not your top concern. Although the golf is good.
Yeah.
Maybe you're here for that more social aspect. You're here for the block party. You're here for the beer and the wine
bonfire.
releases and the bonfires. So I think there's something for everyone, and that's something that you guys have just knocked out of the park. Is whatever your goals in a tournament are, you can come here and you can find it. Depending on how you just want to approach it.
I think I was out at the GBO Kickoff Beer Fest, and I kept, running into people saying hello and stuff like that. And I'd get everything from it's my first GBO to it's my fourth GBO, and it's both of them are awesome to see people come back and to see people make the first trip out here. And then, of course, they say, I'm going to try to make it every year. So, so we are very, very proud of this event. We work very hard all year to bring a quality event to make sure everybody have a good time. We always say it's not just a tournament, it's an experience.
Yep.
And, of course, you guys being here covering live adds to that experience, because it's not just people coming to play a bunch of disc golf. There is a competition level to it. We've got some of the top names in the sport coming out to play the event and to win it, because it is one of those prestigious awards to win. I think of I know there's a lot of trophies out there that people love to put on their mantle, and I believe if you ask probably 10 top pros, I'm sure at least 9 of them will say that the Glassbone Open trophy is sitting on their mantle back home. If not all 10, but it's definitely one of those prestigious awards. So, but
Mine's not.
What?
Mine's not.
Call it 9 of 10.
Yeah.
Yo, yours not. Oh yeah.
Mine's actually my parents' house.
Oh, okay,
all
okay.
3 of mine are actually on their mantle.
Plans
Does that
spoiler.
count?
We earned this by having you.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
This is mine. That's basically what happened. Yeah.
okay.
I mean, it's no VHS trophy like I gave away this weekend.
That was a great
Those are
trophy.
pretty cool. I saw
Oh,
pictures
I
of
love
those.
it. I love
awesome.
But-
So let's talk. Let's go a
Beta?
little off. Let's see. So yeah, Johnny V. Speaking of that, you actually played in a tournament this past weekend. How'd that go?
it.
It
Ooh.
went really well
Yeah?
for
Let's
my
go.
division. Yeah, I ended up winning. I played AM Masters. I shot
Nice.
what felt to me at the time. And granted, I hadn't touched a disc all year, so I went out cold on a blind course I'd never played.
Like
and-
pros do.
Like pros do.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah.
why wouldn't
Yeah.
you? And I shot what felt like a mediocre round, but it turns out it was right about what my mediocre rating is right now. So it fit right in.
Yep.
I was down by 3 strokes going into the second round. I ended up winning by 2 strokes.
Nice.
So I shot 2 rounds just a hair above my 912 rating,
Yeah.
and I ended up winning the AM Masters. So I was pretty happy with that.
It's always so bittersweet when you play really mediocre and you're like, oh man, that wasn't that great, and it averages
Yeah.
to exactly your rating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
Like,
it felt.
So this is how I normally
this is how
play.
I normally play.
Come on, man.
This is my life now.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and I was thinking, someone like you, Emac, you were in the 1020s at one point, I
I was
believe.
1030.
1030.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Sit back up.
Hey, come on.
Like, if you didn't touch a disc for 6 months and
Mm-hmm.
came out and shot like a 980 or 990,
I did that.
You'd be disappointed,
Yeah,
but
of course.
but you'd understand. You're like,
Yes.
all right,
Yep.
you have a base floor, and that's what it is. For most of us, like us, where our peak was 950, 960, our base floor is a lot lower than that.
Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it would take us a little while to get
Yeah.
back up there, but
I did
no,
that.
no, I did that. I
Recently.
did that in March.
My last tournament. Thanks for bringing it up.
So I have absolutely no idea what your answer is going to be, but I'm going to risk it and ask, what putter did you use?
come on.
Whatever.
I took some pictures of it.
And sent them to you.
Those
weren't
burst
supposed to give
deputies.
that away.
And let me tell you,
Wait,
they
hashtag Team
flew
W.
great. Honestly,
Yes.
this is the first tournament I've ever used him in. I used him for a marksman league over the winter,
Nice.
and I
Nice.
did really well at the marksman league. And I would like to thank Robert McCall for actually sending them to me when I said I'm looking for a new putter, and
Excellent.
these are the kind of how I want it to
And
fly.
he didn't send you wardens.
He didn't, because he fit exactly what I
He
asked.
said he
for.
wanted a
Wow.
specific disc. And
Well
look,
done.
I love the Warden, but I'm not.
Well
Yeah.
done.
He's not going to steer anybody wrong.
That's
He's
right.
not, and
Because
and-
he
and
wants
they were
all the
great.
wardens.
And
I
used it-
yes, I just wanted more for myself.
I used it off the tee only 2 or 3 times because the courses we played were pretty long and wooded.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a great picture of me. Maybe I'll post it at some point of this huge jump putt I actually hit. The one the cameraman was taking a photo. It was like a 60-foot jump putt
Nice.
with the warden fully outstretched, or not the warden, sorry,
With
the
the- with the
deputy,
deputy, yeah.
and fully outstretched. It was awesome, and they flew great for me.
That
Excellent.
better be in the store. That picture better be up in a poster in the
Yes.
store by
One
the
in
end
the
of the
Emporium
weekend.
store.
Deputies
Yeah.
can make you do this.
That's
Right. They make you
Yeah.
this tall and
Dude.
let you hit
Yeah.
one
Wow.
60-footer.
I am interested.
912 Commercial Street. Stop on down. And take a
Wait,
look.
912, that's my rating.
Yes, that's right.
Oh,
It is,
That is
actually.
also.
When you're as tall as you,
Wow.
do 60-footers feel closer than they do?
Yeah, that's not. Can you
Not
just
really.
can you
No,
just
they look
tap
a mile
in like
long for
15
Johnny.
They
footers?
do. Right now, everything outside the circle looks scary. So
So 15 footers aren't just drop ins.
not quite. I don't.
Well, for me, every putt's uphill. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Granted, every putt's downhill for me
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
So.
That's the
Someone
way,
asked I
that's the
think
way of the
last
road.
week how Ricky putts with the nose down, and I think I understand. I don't know his problem. I don't understand
Of
yours.
course. Yeah, I mean, everything's uphill.
Now, Terry, do you get to get out and play much?
Never. And this weekend when I was running the tournament, it was 60-some degrees on Saturday. We had 142 people. A couple of people withdrew at the last moment, so 142 out of 144. And it was gorgeous out. And there are 2 courses that I helped design. Happen to be 2 of the more well-liked and favorited courses in Wisconsin.
Don't undersell it. 2 of the best courses in Wisconsin.
Nice.
Thank you. And I remember kind of just looking up at the sky thinking, wow, today is a day I miss disc golfing.
Yeah.
And, and I used to run a lot of tournaments and then play in the tournaments when I ran them. And after a few years, that finally fell off. And now I don't remember the last time I don't remember the last time I competitively threw a disc. It's been, it might have been in Thailand. Yeah, it was in Thailand back in February. So I definitely miss playing. I used to play a lot. And then I always knew I ran anywhere from 2 to 5 different leagues as well in as recently as a few years ago. And I always thought, well, even when I'm not practicing, if I'm still running a league, that will force me to play at least, that 1 round or that 2 rounds a week. And I was worried that if I ever stopped running league, I'd stop playing entirely, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I'm not forced to go out to a course on any given day, on any given week. And it's some days it's a little disheartening, I'll admit. Yeah. And I got to find myself back out there more often.
I feel you.
I need to.
Same way. Go ahead.
I have to pay Terry a compliment, and I would never say this to his face. So let's just
Should I turn around?
let's just get that out of the way.
Close your eyes.
Why
Terry.
wouldn't you say that to his face?
Yeah, she's a wonderful person. And a talented artist. Anyway, we went to the disc golf experience in Nashville. This was now last year's experience, and 2 years ago's experience.
Yeah, last year was the
and
Chiefs.
got to play one of my rounds with Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. And like, all right, so a lot of you guys just know Terry as broadcaster and vlogger and things like that. I'm telling you, the dude has a smooth swing, okay? And it's not like, oh, okay, that was smooth, but it didn't go very far. It was like, you could tell there, at least at one point when he played disc golf, this man knew what he was doing. So I'd never seen him throw before. I would assumed it was like that, and I was not disappointed.
Like 98.
Yeah, I mean,
1998 was
It was
a
a little
great
after
year.
that was my peak.
I'm telling you props, because I was like, okay, that's a smooth swing. I know one when I see one. Well done.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
There are two shots that scare me when Terry walks up to them.
Yeah.
One is about a 90-foot approach shot, because I know he's running it.
Yeah.
And he puts them in more often than he doesn't.
Right.
And the other is a 10-foot putt, because there's a 1 in 10 chance he airballs it.
Nice.
Yeah, 1 in 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 out of 10.
Not bad. I mean,
No.
because you're such a fast putter in general. You walk up, you are one of the fastest players
Just
that you will
hit.
ever see.
Yep.
And I mean, Terry was, like what I said, Terry was a 996 rated player at one point.
995 was my peak.
five.
Nice,
So,
dude.
yeah, at one point I used to have a little bit of game.
And let's clear the air. 995 back then was like
yeah.
1020 today.
Oh, at least. I mean, with inflation.
Honestly,
and-
like, I'm not
okay,
lying.
No, okay.
Yeah, the ratings have increased.
There
Yeah.
definitely was a lot fewer. When I was 995, there were maybe, I don't know, Chuck Kennedy can run some numbers, but when I was 995, you're right, there was probably only a few dozen people rated 1,000.
Yeah.
And so I guess I've never really thought about it in that way.
Yeah.
But maybe.
Let me ask you this. So that brings up an interesting question in my mind, Terry. So I've seen pictures. I've heard you guys talk about your early times in disc golf. At what point? I mean, we get questions. I talk to people, and it's like they try disc golf, they get hooked, and then they want to be sponsored. They want to play all the time. They want to do, but then of course life kind of gets in the way. But for you, being 995, I gotta imagine, like, man, I'm good at this. Was the atmosphere different back then, where you're thinking, I'm good at this, but I'm not going to make a living? Or at what point did you say, get better at disc golf, or maybe do something else within disc golf?
Yeah, it was definitely a different atmosphere because sponsorships, there was this kind of a magic 1,000 was definitely a benchmark that you had to hit for the most part if you want to even consider getting sponsored. Yeah. And at that time, I'm going to take you guys back a few years and just say, it was Discraft or Innova. Those were the two that were sponsoring anyone, because most of these other companies didn't really even exist yet. And so that was one benchmark. And then realizing how tough it was to make a living and that there wasn't a lot of money. And of course, we're still not swimming in money, but it was definitely a lot tougher and a lot less opportunities to make money doing those types of things. And I realized I was 995 and I barely cared and I didn't really practice, but I also knew I didn't want to care or practice more. So I knew right then, like, okay, I'm not going to be a world champion. And it wasn't a defeatist attitude. It was just a matter of, I don't want to do what it takes to become a 1020, 1040 rated player. That didn't interest me enough. I was content to be as good as I was with the little effort I did put in. So I felt very fortunate in that way. Yeah. But naturally, when you quit playing and I take on all these other things, that very quickly, fell off, in terms of the skill sets. So
that brings up an interesting point, because every now and then we do get a question that comes into the show where someone will say, how do I get better at disc golf when I have a full-time job and a family? Well, you don't. You either say no to the family, which you're not going to do, or say no to your full-time job, because there is the trade-off. There is either...
There can be.
Yeah.
I think so. Too many people, though, use excuses. I could say all day long, oh, I don't have 15 minutes to go out and run a couple miles. Right. But really, I could just not look at Instagram for 15 minutes when I wake up and go out and run those, run that.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Or you could do both.
Okay, that's it.
Or you could possibly do
Everybody
both.
just
So
calm down.
I feel in life, and this is a whole other story maybe for another day, but I do feel
this
like
is the day.
There's always time.
Yeah.
We all have the same amount of hours, and you can talk to the mother that has 5 kids and runs her household, has a full-time job, and does marathons on the weekend. And then you talk to, another situation where someone who has one kid and thinks, oh, I just don't have enough hours in the day. But it's how are you using that time? And I'm not picking on moms by any means, but I think all of us we all have the same amount of hours in the day, and it's how bad do you want it?
Priorities.
And it's prioritizing what you really want.
Yeah.
And I wasn't willing to prioritize going out and practicing. I was just like, I enjoy being, what I have, and I didn't want to take it. And that's when I was running tournaments. I was designing courses. I've designed about 30 some courses mostly around Wisconsin, and I was running 10 or 15 tournaments a year.
Right.
So I was doing everything, and then finally it was 2010 when I picked up my first camera, and then that kind of, the media side took over my life. And
Yeah,
everything else.
you guys filmed
Yeah.
you filmed it. You interviewed me,
Yep,
and I think
yep.
it was on an iPhone, if I'm not mistaken.
It might have been an iPhone, or maybe it was one of those
flip
the
cam?
flip
It
cam,
could have been one of
the
those.
little
I just
flip
remember it
cam.
was little tiny.
Yeah,
I was like,
little
what's going on?
flip cam.
Who are these guys? What's going on there?
I remember that. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Tim on the board says Terry just needed a bet to put him over 1,000.
That's actually a good point, because that's the other thing I will never do. I'll never bet Terry, like, hey, I bet you can't hit this for $1. 99 out of 100 times he's hitting it.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where it's from.
I can and I will.
That actually that brings up a good point. Now, I hate to beat a dead horse with the whole bet with Robert, but you said something on Smashbox on your interview, and I don't know.
Oh, I did? Is that what you're
yes,
saying?
you said something that you haven't been playing as many tournaments this year,
Right.
and you said you put more effort into it last year because you wanted to prove me wrong.
Oh, heck yeah, I did.
There you go.
Right. It
Well, he
almost
played-
makes me want to go back and wish I hadn't betted you and just like not said anything. And been, in other words, kind of like
You want Robert to be worse?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say, Johnny.
No.
You
What
want
I'm
me to
getting
not
at-
succeed?
What I'm getting at is
I bet you can't be under 1,000 at the end of the year.
I'm well on my
What
way.
my point is though my thinking, my point behind it was working in disc golf means you don't improve in disc golf.
Right.
But you made a concerted effort to prove me wrong. Had I not
Yeah.
bet you,
True.
what would the story be?
Yeah, who knows?
Right.
I'm not sure on that.
Well, you
Um,
probably
So
wouldn't
I-
have gone
I
to as
win.
many of the bigger tournaments
Right.
that you went to
Right.
and played
Right.
either.
Right.
Exactly.
He didn't play a couple smaller events, right?
no, I
Or
pretty
did
much
you-
played
you
whatever
played
I wanted
everything?
to last
Okay.
year. Yeah.
Anyway, it was just a
But
side.
I did play some bigger ones, not for the ratings necessarily, but it helps when you play.
It does.
with
It does not
high-rated
hurt.
propagators. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like when we made that bet, I'm a competitive person, right?
Right.
I don't know if anyone knows that about me.
Right.
But less so now than I was previously in life. But still, if it comes right down to it, and I know a bunch of people are going to hear about it, and if I lose, then that's the only thing I'll hear about. You're darn tootin'. I'm going to try really hard to
Right.
to get to 1,000.
So you're welcome for helping your rating out. It was all me.
this guy.
At least
Anyway,
40%.
Yeah.
All right, so we got questions on the board because
You
we
can
want to
take
make
the
sure.
bonus that you get from getting 1,000 rated. It's a big bonus. I'll give you half
Oh, I
of it.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get
Wait,
some
what?
questions for.
It's in the mail.
They take
It's
it
in
back
the
when
mail.
you go under 1,000.
Oh
Eric.
man!
Oh, dang it.
Ooh, I'm on my way.
So someone had a good question. This may be more for Terry, but what's the most difficult tournament to travel to? I mean, you've been to a lot.
To
and a lot
travel
of them
to
are-
or to cover? Or just to get
well,
to?
it's just
Well, I
said
mean,
travel
Thailand would
to.
have to be pretty hard.
I would assume he's probably talking about travel to film. Would be
Right.
my guess.
Yeah, in terms of overall I'll say the ordeal that it is. I mean, we're really fortunate with me being in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Southwest, shout out my peeps over there.
Yeah.
I love taking Southwest everywhere. More often than not, I have a direct flight. Rarely do I actually even have to, I don't have too many layovers. I'll say Green Mountain. It's one that I can't take Southwest, and it's one that's a little bit more expensive, and you travel into Vermont, into Burlington, and of course, all the course makes up for it, and the property and the people. But then once you even get into Burlington, then you're always going to have at least that 45-minute drive.
Yep.
You would never, unless you live on the East Coast, you would never drive to that tournament because it's it's just so remotely located. I'll say I'll flip it a little and say one of the cooler ones to go to besides Thailand and
that
Australia, but one of the cooler ones stateside, and most of us have been there now, is Nantucket.
Oh, it's so cool.
To say that, hey, I have to get on a boat or some kind of ferry or take a plane onto an island to cover or watch disc golf. That huge shout out to Nantucket. I mean, that in itself I felt like was an experience.
I would
So cool,
assume
man.
GBO would be on that list as well for people flying in, because the
Right.
closest they could fly in is Wichita, which is over an hour drive.
Which
too.
no one is going to do because you're going to always fly into Kansas City, or no?
Well, we usually fly in and out of Kansas City, but we've gone out of Wichita too. Southwest goes to both, so
Yeah.
we go in
really?
and out. Yeah,
Wow.
we go in and out
I
of
didn't
both.
know that.
I actually prefer Wichita, but
It's
just-
closer.
and it's smaller.
Yeah.
So fewer flights out, but it's a fantastic airport.
It really is.
Why didn't
Yeah,
we fly into Wichita?
I don't
LeBron
know.
James. We saw LeBron James there.
Yeah. Oh wait, no.
Wait.
Just the guy who cut us in line because his flight was
that's
boarding
right.
at
That's
that
right.
time.
And then he literally
it was the
boarded.
same
It
flight.
was
as
our
us.
flight.
Oh, he's like,
Yeah.
hey guys, my flight is boarding. I have to get to the front of
Yeah.
the line, and we just kind of looked down, like, okay, man, good luck. That great. It was. Yeah,
And then
it
he
our
was
flight.
he was walking down the
wearing a LeBron
right in
jersey.
front of Robert. We're like, really?
I don't usually
I'll
get
say-
bitter about things, but
He was bitter.
Yeah.
He was bitter.
Another one that, again, Eric and I were talking just before we got started was anytime you're going to Alaska. And I guess there's always that trade-off. If it's probably difficult to get to, it's probably awesome while
It's
you're
gonna
there.
be worth it. Yeah.
You know, and so Alaska, though, is a little bit extra travel, of course, to get to. Beaver State Fling, you know, we all talk about how amazing that place is. Same thing. You know, you're going to have at least a 45-minute drive if you're getting into Portland and so on and so forth. But
I've heard Flip City in Michigan is awesome, but there's no good way. It's
yeah,
an hour and a half drive from any major airport.
Yeah, exactly. That would be as well. So,
So it did. Another question that came in from Doc Zinn says, a question for Eric McCabe and the other guy from Smashbox. This is about courses. How many courses have you
dude.
designed, Terry?
somewhere
he said
between
30.
He said
30
30.
and 35. I mean, now, and let me throw out a disclaimer. Very rarely.
You don't know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing.
No, that's a generic disclaimer that I have
Start a
always.
sentence.
Yeah, no, that's ongoing. No, a lot of them, I go to the Wisconsin Phi-Ed show, physical education show, where there's a lot of Phi-Ed teachers. I go to a lot of the park and rec shows, both national and Wisconsin based park and rec shows. So at least a third of those are 9 holes or 12-hole courses on school grounds, which I don't think are any less valid.
I was going to
but-
say arguably are just
More
as
important.
important, if not more important. I don't know how many times I've got an email from somebody in a town that I want a championship level course here. Well, you guys don't have any disc golf there at all.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you put a course like the Country Club in a place that has no disc golf,
Oh, good
that's
luck.
going to turn people
Everyone
away.
will
No one's
hate
I
gonna
mean,
play.
so what I try to do in that situation is say, well, how about we put in a big course, but we also put in short tees and short pin positions as well. So it's not just grueling, and you just don't turn people away.
Yeah, and so I've only been blessed with a handful of properties that were I'll say of championship quality, you know, in terms of the actual property. And then there's a lot of, I'll say, blue level courses, and then there's quite a few beginner style courses. So when it's all said and done, and I've had help, of course, with a few of them, but when it's all said and done, it's probably somewhere between like 30 and 35 at my last count. It's not a priority like it used to be,
I don't
like
know.
it is for EMAC now.
Right.
I don't know how you would answer this question. The question is basically, how do your course designs differ? Now, I don't know if either of you have played either courses enough to know that. So maybe just a quick synopsis.
Oh, like
of,
our course design?
yeah, how do they differ? I don't know how you would do that. Other
Doesn't
than
it really depend on
Depends on the terrain.
The terrain
Yeah.
that you're given. I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, one of the ones that you did, Spazland, is flat with a few trees, and it's a community park, and so you just play around this park, and you can't do much with it.
Yeah.
As opposed to Silver Fox, which is this par 60 or 61, gorgeously wooded, lots of elevation, extremely difficult course. I mean, it really, you get what you're handed.
Exactly. You get the canvas that you have to work with, honestly.
Yeah.
And for a true championship level course, I haven't been to too many properties where it's like, yeah, we could do a championship level course here. There's been a few, but not like people want that championship level, but I'm like, how many acres do you have? Well, we have 30
16.
acres. I'm like, 30 acres is great, but that doesn't count the parking lot, the building, the softball field. You know, I mean,
yeah.
how much usable acreage do we have? You know, I mean, it's tough, but I played a handful of yours. I mean, up in the Milwaukee area.
A lot of those I can't take credit for. There are a lot of great courses out there that our club's been involved with,
Right.
but many, if not most of those, I didn't. Well, it depends which ones you played, but I
Right.
probably didn't.
And it's been a few years,
Sure,
so it's
sure.
not like I was there last week or anything.
Yeah,
like
no, I
that,
hear
but no, like Johnny V said, I think it just kind of depends on the canvas.
Yeah, it really does. And I feel like, as Johnny V just said, you know, Spazland, which is affectionately known as Splashland because it's underwater for half of the year already. It's a relatively low-lying area. There's literally a dozen trees on the entire property. It's maybe 9 acres, and it's in the backyard of this subdivision. And so naturally, when I worked with a youth group to get it installed, it was all about beginner friendly. We do annual, family friendly events out there. I could have you out there with $100,000 budget and have you out there for a month, and you're not going to make that great of a course.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you have to work with what you're given.
Exactly.
Was that an offer though?
It was.
No, what it's
That's a
heard that.
verbal agreement.
I heard that.
Everyone heard it.
what it's an offer for is to not go out to disc golf course review and be like, hey, I visited that Spas Land course.
Yeah.
That thing's a piece of trash.
It's not even that hard.
Yeah, like I totally.
Why would
shot
you bother?
I shot
that's-
like 3 under the first time I played it,
and that
like,
brings
every
up-
hole's under 200 feet.
And that brings up another great point.
So accurate.
The internet sucks sometimes.
Well, yeah, they do sometimes, but it's like you don't know what you have to work with a lot of times. Like I'll go to a park and the city's like, you can use this, this, and this. You cannot use this area. You cannot use that area. We don't want you to do this, do that. And then when you're done and people go play it, they don't understand the variables that go into it, and what you have to work with and what you can't. So it's not always going to be, well, why didn't you go down this way and then go through here? Well,
Yeah.
I couldn't. They wouldn't let me. And you can't explain that.
Yeah, there's
It's
some
just
sort of protected animal or something.
exactly
Or
a plant or
vegetation or something.
yeah. It's crazy.
Madison Walker was here. She said there's a bird in that tree.
Yeah.
I don't know. They didn't let me design it there.
So on our Facebook page on Disc Golf Amsterdam, and if you have not joined that, please make sure you do, because you can get a lot of helpful information, or we can just talk about tacos.
Either one is good.
Either one is good. But we got some questions for you guys that we'll kind of go through and see what happens there. Someone wants to know, actually Jerry Williams wants to know, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? I like how everybody looks at Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, you're the smart one, Johnny. No, what movie's that from is the better question.
That I don't know.
No, that's from a movie.
It's from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, all right.
The guy who hardly ever sees movies. Nice.
Well
now
done.
I've seen
Yeah.
some movies.
Oh,
It's
so
been
fine.
20 years since I've seen Holy Grail.
the answer is
It's almost time to rewatch it
The
with my
answer
son,
is
though.
something or European. I don't remember what it is.
African or European?
Excuse
African or
me, I've
European.
got to
Yeah,
pick up something outside.
All right, so here we go. What is your plan to increase the quality of coverage for tournaments you have been hired for the rest of the season?
Do better.
We're getting the hard-hitting question. So, and this was something that
What's
if
what's
we're
been
gonna
wrong so far?
go ahead and hit the button.
Oh,
We're gonna keep
keep
it
it real.
and that's something. And
This
and
is
I'll
my
just,
nightmare.
When we, what'd you say?
I said this is my nightmare.
When
It's only gonna get more awkward, Robert. Trust me.
when we of course got together and figured out the media for Glassbone Open, the natural thing was to have Smashbox out here come live. But then when this whole thing happened with Disc Golf Pro Tour and they did not hire you and all this stuff, honestly, my initial thought was, is GBO going to be the first full-on live? Will they? I mean, I know you've been doing it for a few
It
years.
still might be. We don't know.
Right. You've been doing it for a few years,
Yeah.
so it's not like I thought it was going to be brand new. But, by GBO time, you would have done it 2 or 3 times. So you would have had some kinks worked out and
course.
some communication things, made better and stuff like that. What are your thoughts going into GBO without having to have had that?
It's going to be really interesting because we're going back to some things that we haven't done so far this year. We're bringing in our own cameramen.
Right.
I'm not working with people who last night we had a conversation with somebody and I don't even know the cameramen's names.
Right.
I refer to them as camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, and I learned their names by mistake. Like, oh, that's Joey? I don't know if I want to know that.
Camera 1.
How do you do 3?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just third eye.
Fair enough.
And so we're bringing in our own cameramen who have more experience. They've been here multiple times, so they know the courses. They're going to have to learn a few of the new holes, thanks to Eric.
You're welcome.
But ultimately, we have a really good plan. We're going, because it's Smashbox, we're going on YouTube. So this is going to be a much more consistent product that people are used to.
Right.
We're not trying to explore different environments like Steve is. So, and I give Steve all the credit in the world because he's trying a lot of different things, and some of them are working and some of them aren't. But he has the guts to try them instead of just rolling with what we know works. I mean, if we didn't try to improve, we'd still be Terry with a camera and doing commentary, and me sitting behind the booth.
How terrible would that be?
I know. When he was doing literally all the jobs on site, and he was the only cameraman and commentator. So for GBO, I'm really excited that we are actually going to be trying a couple new things, and I don't know if we should even mention it yet. Should we mention it?
That's up
Do
to
I
you.
know about
Our
Smashbox exclusive.
On Disc Golf Answer Man.
We got it in
dependent
there.
dependent on the weather,
I want
and it looks like it's supposed to be nice.
Beautiful.
We want to have what we're going to call our whole 16 cam.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be out on the island, and that's going to stream to its own YouTube channel. So you can literally, if you want.
Wow.
I think we're going to start probably around 10:30. We're hoping in the morning because that's when the first women's group should start coming through. And we're going to post one of our cameramen out there and just put it out on YouTube. So just a raw feed, solid, no interruptions. Maybe just, I don't even know if we can even put any sort of graphics on it because it's coming straight from the camera. And then we'll also have that into our GBO feed. So into the main feed, we'll be able to cut to that whenever we need to.
Nice.
Right.
So
Kind of like the Amen Corner sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. Like
I
Amen
like
Corner
that.
from the Masters. So
Just
Will you
like
be able
the
to get like
Masters.
Yeah.
Will you be able to get like
Literally.
tears?
maybe.
Yeah, because there will be
zoom in
plenty of them
some
on that hole.
tiers.
I'm sure of it.
Just like we were talking about. Disc golf should be more like the Masters. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should.
It should. What a
Sure.
novel
So
concept.
we're really excited to be able to push a few more boundaries that we haven't done in the past. So I'm excited on how to improve GBO every year. I want to do something a little different or push the envelope a little further without breaking it.
Yeah. Who do you think we can hire to do the commentary for that? Because as we know, it'll just be raw feed, so they'll hear nothing. But that would be a fantastic prank to play on somebody. So just consider it. You can get back to me later. We don't have to do it now.
Like Dwight driving the boat.
Yeah, that's right.
Francis
It's a
wants,
fake wheel, dummy.
Francis wants to know: are you going to get rid of the double beep?
That's a Pro Tour thing,
Right.
and the goal is yes. Talking to
No, not the goal. We for sure are.
Yeah.
Do you mean this week?
this weekend, there's no
Oh
double
yeah,
beep.
no, yeah, this
Yeah,
weekend.
because
no
the,
beep.
the
no
double
beep.
beep is to insert third-party ads on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and you can listen to.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I know. You can listen to some other podcasts that I think went into depth with Steve about
I
a lot of
listened to
that.
it, yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're not going to bother rehashing that. But yes, there'll be no double beeps here. And in the future, the goal is to get rid of those beeps by working with the company that actually needs them to do something, some sort of web call in order to activate the ad. So there is no beep. That's the long answer
And
for
that's
it.
the thing is that that came to my mind is that the Disc Golf Pro, like you said, Steve is trying new things.
Yeah.
I totally get it. What is unfortunate is all these. It feels like the actual product is the test environment rather than we're just
It
not
is.
fortunate enough to have the resources, the time, or the money to test all these things out. All we can do is think them up, see them technically and in theory be able to
Yeah.
work. And you know, Johnny, working in computers,
Yes.
in theory, things are supposed to work their
My
way.
favorite two words.
Right.
In theory, this should be
it's
great.
supposed to work, but we always know with computers and technology, it doesn't always go as planned. And so, unfortunately, we are watching this learning thing unfold with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So, like you said, I get that he wants to put this off YouTube and he wants to try to create some kind of platform that allows him to monetize it even more. But it is,
or control, not just monetize it, but actually control the experience.
Right.
So, I mean, take the Masters, for example. There was no chat on the Masters video.
No.
There was no YouTube of the Masters video. You went to masters.com
Yep.
and you watched what they provided.
No commercials,
And
pretty much.
no commercials.
They control everything.
They control everything, and it hurts to, because they're the Masters. They've got millions of dollars that they can make sure that works right. It's a lot tougher for us. You know, there are things that when we pushed it out originally to the Disc Golf Pro Tour TV channel. Look, it works. Cool, great. What we didn't realize is like, oh, it doesn't work so well when there's 2,000 to 3,000 people trying to hit it at once, and suddenly you're like, ooh, yeah, that's well, and you work through it and you build and you do what you can, and it doesn't always go smoothly. And I'm not going to promise everything is going to go smoothly. I said somewhere else, if we're not breaking, we're not trying, and we're not pushing. We want everything to go great, but there's going to be more problems, whether it's minor or major. We've got hopefully years more to come, and we're not slowing down.
Yeah.
all right, next question. Drew Green wants to know, what's the biggest number you've ever taken on a single hole during a tournament round?
I know mine off the top of my head. For sure.
Mine is honestly not that bad.
Yep. Same.
I'm gonna guess yours is an 8.
Snowman.
Snowman.
I
Guess
feel
what
like
hole?
mine is as well. I'm gonna
16?
give me a
that'd
hint.
be
Is it
really
in
bad.
or outside of this state?
It is well outside of this state.
Okay, then I'm gonna say
It's got to be.
I will also
overseas.
give you. I'll also give you one more. Okay.
Yep.
One more hint.
it's been on SportsCenter.
No.
Okay. Okay.
You think I got an 8 on an aceable hole?
Hole one.
What's wrong with this guy?
I did.
Hole one,
Hole one at
at
the
Memorial.
Memorial.
No,
That would
I
be the
throw
one
so far past that basket. It's not even funny.
That's true.
Oh, look at you, big arm.
Yeah, huge.
Okay.
It was my opening hole at a tournament. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Was that the European Open?
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
my opening
That
hole
was really
at a tournament.
unfortunate. Yeah, I remember this now. This was.
You were there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maple Hill?
That was
Yes.
Maple Hill last year.
Okay, I was gonna say, did you put one in the water?
Nope.
No.
Oh,
Inbounds, and then I pulled it left, and then I had the gap to go
Yeah.
over OB, and I said, "Let's do this." And then I clipped a branch and dropped OB, and I'm
Famous
like,
last words from disc golfers. I can hit that.
"Cool, let's throw again from right here." You know, so I did, and then missed a putt, whatever, and dropped an 8. I still shot under par that round.
Wow.
But
That's
I started with an 8. That
that's
was my highest number.
Yeah, that's
I've
impressive.
taken a couple of 8s. The most recent one was a 17 USDGC.
Ah.
Yep. Tried to play forehand is very much a secondary shot for me, but I had practiced it and I was landing just on a very fat part of the island, no problem. But when you get up there in the tournament, it feels much different.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so for me, like my forehand was just, it was tough. So I spiked one by the basket and it just scooted out back. Okay, whatever.
No big deal.
The next one, yeah, fine. So reload, same disc. The next one hit the hay bales on top and stayed out. The next one never.
That's
had a
when it's-
chance
that's
of
when it's
anything.
scary.
Oh, I was sweating, and I just threw it super far out in the water. So easiest 8 of my life. From there, I switched to the backhand and landed the island each of the next 3 rounds and birdied at one of them. Why didn't we just do that from the start?
Yeah. Well,
Deputy will do that. Just a little turn to it, end up in the fat part of
you
it.
should try it out.
I did
I
get
can
a
get you a couple.
They're wardens.
I got a 3P on that hole one year
Oh, sick! You had to
during
retee?
Monday qualifying.
wow, you threw it in?
I was playing with Harold Duvall.
Nice.
First group out, and I was killing it that round, playing well, coming down the stretch, and then I remember I was throwing I think it was a giant. It was what I was throwing for my forehand, and it hit the middle of the green forehand, bounced up, and just started rolling for the OB. I'm like, oh, here we go, and then I grabbed another one, and I pulled it out left, and I thought, oh, that's going in the water all day,
Just kidding.
and then bang, basket got in the way. Got a 3, qualified by 1 stroke.
Sweet 3.
Yeah, I was like,
Jeez.
sweet.
What's the biggest number you can think of?
I know I've taken at least an 8, and now I was just starting to second guess as to if I've taken possibly an 8 or a 9 one of the few times I played USDGC.
That's
And
that'd
it
be
would
the
have been
one.
hole 17, of course, like everyone else. I don't remember, though. I'd have to go back and check some of the old 8 or 9 would be it.
Yeah.
I can't remember mine either, but I'm sure it was the double digits.
Yeah, we're sure,
I'm
too.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Was it at Monkey Island this year?
Yeah. Probably would have been. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been in the double digits. Even
You haven't got a hog snout?
I know.
It's a circle 11.
Oh, geez. No,
Triple circle.
I know for certain I've taken 8s. I think I've taken a 9.
Yep.
Just this last weekend, I took a 7. I mean, you get caught up in the woods, and
Yeah.
you think I can get out. Whack.
Yep.
Okay.
Take your medicine.
Yep. Take roller, goes back up in the woods. You're like, oh man. Well, at this point, I'm committed. Let's keep going.
So the opening hole of the course in Skellefteå is a par 6, a
Yep.
true par 6.
Oh, yeah.
True par
And
6.
and we played that, and I think our first time out, I took a 7, and I was like, this is the least bad I've ever felt about a 7
Yeah.
in my entire life.
Well, that's 1,000 and
Yeah,
1,200
and
feet
it
or something.
does, and it does
It
huge
goes like-
turnover off the tee,
Mer-
then
mer-
long hyzer to another set of gaps. That once you get to the end of those, then it's another 90-degree turn, and so 5 is fantastic. It was.
Told me the Albatross River. The
Yeah.
disc, the Albatross River is what it's called. It's a
Somebody-
collector disc. Somebody threw in a river
Threed
from
that,
like
yeah.
400 feet or something like that for
Ah.
free.
Pretty
Okay,
ridiculous.
I think I do
man.
remember that.
Anyway,
All right, so we got another question. Steve asks, favorite course in Wisconsin. Also, what was the most embarrassing moment for your disc golf coverage career?
There's been
Did you say
there's
most
been a
embarrassing moment?
Which one?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
been a few. If you go back early into Smashbox history, and I don't recommend you do, there are some really shoddy live coverages. They're just early getting the kinks out.
No.
Going to places where we didn't spot check. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, someone says they got good cell coverage here. You get there and it's like, oh, we can cover 3 holes and we have to stay in these 3 holes. Otherwise, we lose the feed.
Brutal.
I don't know if there's been. I'm trying to think of the last really bad coverage. I'm sure someone in the board will bring it
Yeah,
up.
they're really good.
Internet's pretty good about remembering the bad ones.
Yeah.
I can think of real quick my most embarrassing. I was doing work for Disc Golf Planet, and I was creating feature videos for the live video, and I can't remember what hole it was, but what are the I can't remember what event. Maybe it was USDGC. I can't remember anywhere. There was a wooded tunnel shot. It wasn't the famous one, whatever, but it was a wooded tunnel shot, and I was standing there, and I was debating whether I wanted to do a throw shot or a catch shot. And I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I thought, okay, I've got time. I'm going to run down there. So there's the gallery waiting for the big guys to throw, and I take off running, and I hit a little branch that's sticking up, and with my camera in hand, I just boom, smack right into my face. And of course, I get a big applause from everybody. So that was my most embarrassing moment.
Thanks, man. Brutal.
I think one of the times I've told the story on Smashbox a few times. The one time I felt so small doing live coverage was with the Planet as well. We were doing Worlds in 2011, and Doss was coming through. It was fairly certain he was already going to win by this point, and he threw a shot and hit a tree and fell, and I was behind him commentating on it. And he turned around, and I didn't know him at the time, and now we're pretty good friends, but he gave me the death stare that it made me want to crawl into myself.
I remember this.
Because at the time, we're just, you have to be there because we didn't have a separate booth, and you just had to whisper, but the disc was out of his hand. He hit, I'm fairly certain it was his one of his green discs, and he just hit, probably. Yep. And I just remember saying, oh, that's going to be tough. And he turns around.
I remember that.
I just kind of you settle in, and you do what you have to do. But that was early days of live coverage, and we're much better now that you guys can talk.
Now
all
you can
the
talk
smack
all
you
the
want,
crap you want behind their backs.
And that was a terrible shot.
They have
really
to listen.
glad I don't have to say that.
They have to
their
listen to the
face.
live feed to hear you talk bad about them.
So I already gave my embarrassing moment, but speaking of interaction with the player, I'm not going to say the player's name. I'm going to let you guys guess maybe who it was. I was
Nico.
I was out filming at the memorial, and I had my camera pointed at the direction, but I ended up not filming him. I was just holding it, and this person missed the putt. And as they were walking toward me, they saw my camera pointing that direction, and the person said, "Get that effing camera out of my face." And I was like, didn't know what to do. And I just kind of stood there, and that person walked right by, and I thought, I wanted to turn around and go, I wasn't even filming, you idiot. But of course, I just left it alone.
Yeah.
So I'll let you guess who that probably was.
It's
Eric McCabe.
Nailed it.
A friendship began. No.
And thus.
It's so different now. What we get to or have to deal with. The players are so used to cameras now.
Right.
Like they don't.
Yeah. Back then, no.
Then you camera and people were the cameramen didn't know what to do as much. Like, do I stand behind the basket real still, or should I get out of their line?
Mm-hmm.
Now I just tell the cameraman, just stand still. If the players need you to move, they will move you.
They'll
ask you.
But back then, it was the wild, as we said last night, the wild, wild, wild west. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they don't tell you to move and then yell after you.
Well,
Hey,
that's
that
their
was
problem.
Real
That was
though.
real.
Oh,
I know
my
him.
Goodness, this was a her when this happened.
So
yeah,
I think we've
brutal.
told the story before on the podcast. But Terry, tell us an embarrassing moment you have.
Some of them you haven't necessarily heard or seen, and maybe that's part of the problem. I think about the most frustrating, and those then turn into be sometimes embarrassing, is when something like our live feed has gone down.
Yeah.
Those are the times where people are at home trying to consume it. They're trying to be engaged and going along with it, and then we're out there running around trying to do what we're doing, and then for whatever reason the live feed goes down, and it's been just about every reason you can think of. We've had an internet challenge at Johnny V's house, who's switching the show. If cable goes out at his house, where everything gets filtered to, there's nothing you can do about it. A camera or a battery or a this or a that, something gets unplugged, or there's a number of cords that can get unplugged that can bring everything down. And when those things happen, I guess I almost equate embarrassed along with frustrated, because I feel like if there's things that you can fix or change or handle, that's one thing. But sometimes when technology just doesn't play well with us, which we've all experienced now, it's so frustrating and or embarrassing. And I guess that's kind of a generic answer, but those have happened in some of our, as Johnny alluded to, some of our earlier days. Hopefully most of those are forever behind us. But I remember being here our first year at the
I was so
Glass Blown. That was the first year I think municipal was being used, at least at the MPO side.
Right.
And sure enough, we were having all sorts of troubles with getting connected and something with the internet and signal and all this stuff that seemed to test pretty well out there. And then we go out there and we're live for production on the opening day. And the first round had, a half dozen struggles that either we didn't anticipate or we did or we overlooked or technology. I think it was everything. Right. I remember even coming in here and having a conversation with you. Yep. And it was kind of like, wow, you've trusted and paid us to come here and be part of this glorious event, and things just didn't go well. And that's our name, and that in turn was also embarrassing and frustrating. So they kind of go hand in hand, I think.
Well, we all grow and learn, and I'm glad you guys stuck with it, obviously. So to be able to bring you coverage this year for sure. Okay, so let's see. Next question. Let's do something that's more disc golfy, maybe.
Yeah, this is the answer, man.
Disc golfy? Is that that's a technical thing?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Let's see. I had one. Let's see. Someone wants to know what I lost it. Where is it at? Something to do with. Okay, so in your experience playing.
Okay.
Watching the pros, covering the pros. And so a question we get is, when I have a bad round or a couple bad shots, what have you guys learned watching the pros work through their bad shots? What advice would you give someone?
Which pro? Because I've seen some of them handle it really well, and I've seen some of them not handle it so well. I mean, I saw a guy break his hand after not dealing with thing.
I know what you're talking about.
Robert McCall.
And that man was me.
Yeah, and I've seen players that you think you watch them playing, you're like, I would not want to be anywhere near that guy, and then he turns around, he's got the biggest smile on his face, and you're like, what are you doing? I had a conversation with the gentleman that this weekend I ended up beating. The whole second round, he was doing nothing but complaining and how bad he was and how he wasn't going to win, how he knew the results before he even stepped on the course, that he was going to play a bad second round. And I just told him, I'm like, you have to not care. Yeah. Like, this isn't your livelihood. Like, that's how I get through it. I'm thinking, like, you just kind of have to relax, take it for what it is, and move on. Every hole, you almost have to treat like a different tournament. Yeah. Just forget what you're doing. It's great to get momentum, but sometimes I have a hard time. We used to, like, when you're done with a round, you'd get in the car with your buddy, and each of you would go through your 18 holes. Oh, yeah. Like, oh, well, this one and this one and this one. And for the longest time, I would just be like, I can't remember which hole is that? I don't remember it, because I would just forget. I would try to erase it from my head, either because it was really bad, which was the majority,
just kind of bad,
or just kind of bad. And you just, some pros can handle it really well, and because they just do. I don't know.
That's probably the best advice that you hear time and time again, as you were just alluding or talking about, Johnny, is your pros will always say you have to have a short memory. You have to forget about it. You have to move on. And what's interesting is I see some of our pros that will get really mad and frustrated with what's happening, and sometimes that anger works through itself, and then next thing you know, things are turned around, and then what do you know? They're only shot 2 off the course record, or they only shot 2 worse than the next best score, and that's how they work themselves through it. The problem with that is it usually affects the rest of the group.
Yep.
And that's the worst part. And that's the part where viewers and spectators and card mates all get really frustrated and think that's unfair. And then by the end, far too often, they're like, oh, yeah, I had a bad round, but I got it back together. And I always think, yeah, whose expense, though? Yeah, like, that's not fair.
Right. Yeah, for the people who let loose on people, that gets me, man. It's so that's just so irritating. Like, I find when I play the best is when I am encouraging other people more, like getting hyped for people's shots. Somebody who does this really well right now, who's at the top of the game, is Kevin Jones. Yeah, I mean, he's always like getting excited for good shots, and I think whether or not you actually play better, it makes me feel better about what's happening. So when I do throw a good shot, I can kind of like hype myself up as well. That's always helped me out a lot. The times that I've kind of just, I guess shrunk back a little and just kind of pouted for a hole or two. It turns out that doesn't help a whole lot to make you throw better shots. Maybe for some people it does, but it never once has worked for me.
Well, the one thing I will say is whatever you do, hopefully you're internalizing it as best as you can and not affecting the group. Whatever you do, don't start being a jerk to everyone else, and not even just your card mates. There's way too often, and we've seen it on camera, and a number of people have done this. All of a sudden, they've thrown out of bounds on a hole, and they walk up and they're trying to retrieve their disc after the spotter has just marked it, maybe put a flag there, and they say something under their breath. And next thing you know, they're getting feisty with a spotter.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And all I keep thinking is that is
the volunteer.
Yeah, that is the worst possible thing you can do. Whatever you do, don't do that, because clearly the spotter didn't throw it there. Like you threw it there. That was a terrible shot. Yeah. And they're there to help you. They're probably volunteering their time. They probably took off of work to be standing out there in this heat or this rain or whatever it is, and then you're going to get feisty with them. Like, don't do that. That's the worst thing you can do. Go up and, maybe do the exact opposite. Kill them with kindness and
get
your mind off.
If you throw a B. Yes. I'm going to try that next time I throw a B and there's a spotter. I'm going to give the spotter a hug.
They'll take it.
Like, I need it.
It's going to be awesome.
I give out hugs unwarranted all the time. People
and I plan
never
to
turn it
throw
down.
a B this week. So
let's talk.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk from a technical aspect, though, or watching people's form off the tee or putting. What do you got? Because a lot of times I'll watch somebody and I'll be, maybe I should try that, or maybe I should. Is there anything that any particular player that you've tried something and it worked, failed, or?
I'll say personally, I'm kind of old school in that I never learned a forehand. Of course, that hurt me throughout all those years. I think I could have been a much better player. I never learned a forehand. Nobody threw forehands hardly. If your name wasn't Scott Stokely, you didn't throw a forehand basically in the 90s for the most part. So I still love watching good forehand players and what they do, and I'm always thinking, what are they doing? Like, how are they doing that? And that's Sarah Hokum, who I see a lot on the FPO side. Jessica Weiss on the FPO side, who I watch throw forehands, and then obviously you have your Eagles and your Ricky Wysocki's on the men's
forehand,
side.
Man. It's incredible. It doesn't look like he's doing anything, and now the disc is past 400 feet, and it's just like
so I look at all those, and I'm always like, what are they doing? They're so good at that. So I don't necessarily know if I've tried to emulate or copy them, but those are some of the people you should be looking at. And then when I look at putting, one thing that still impresses me to this day, and we've all seen it here, Wysocki can have his pitch putt or his loft putt, whatever you want to call it, or not so lofty, but he throws it one way, and then when he needs to, he can just switch to a spin putt.
Yep.
Like when he's got a low ceiling or a certain
dead wind or something.
And you're like, how are you so good at both of those? And we've seen that. So I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend it, but it's something to learn from.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you look at, I pointed out a lot in commentary, but you look at a Nico.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 7 different putting styles.
For 8 different holes.
Right.
You're like, seriously? Like, you literally putted differently, and if he's on, and he doesn't even change it up based on success rate. He could putt 7 different ways in 7 different holes and make birdie on all 7 of those holes, but he did it differently. And I always think,
just how he feels comfortable, maybe just a little bit of the terrain, and it's weird.
Yeah, one of the crazy things about putting, and especially Nico, is like, I think that really solidifies the idea that putting is so much more mental than maybe any other part of the game, right? Because if you've ever gone to a tournament and you're watching the show and you've watched these guys practice putt, Nico misses 0 practice putts ever. He is the best, and he'll say it about himself too. Any disc, mid-range, driver, putter, it doesn't matter. He will never miss a practice putt. Every single putt goes in. And he'll say it about himself. Then he gets in the round, and if he gets a little flustered or kind of thinks himself out of it, he'll start missing, and it's really hard to recover
and he starts
from
taking
that.
longer and longer.
Exactly.
And it's just you can tell it builds up.
Right. And so, working on that mental game, I don't think that can be overlooked or overstated the importance of that.
It's probably also the hardest thing to improve.
Because
how do you
practice
practice that? Do you just have someone knock discs out of your hand when you're trying to play?
Ow!
Well, back in the day, Nico would be... He was the young kid on tour.
Right.
When I was out traveling a lot. And he was always the one that would get done with the round no matter what he shot. And he'd be at the practice basket.
Yep.
With
Or
a
playing
stack of
another
discs.
round.
Stack of discs, just putting. It's crazy.
Yep.
It's nuts. So
All right, so let's see. Next question. Some people want to go back to some more of the coverage type questions. Let's see. Let's get your opinion. In what way does the Disc Golf Pro Tour benefit the PDGA?
In terms of coverage,
Yeah.
I think, and I think we've all said this probably. There's nothing to gain by the Pro Tour not succeeding.
Right.
Nobody has anything to gain. Dynamic Disc doesn't. Our players don't. The men or women's side of golf doesn't. No one has anything to gain by the Pro Tour not being successful.
Which makes it really sad when you have this boycott mentality because they're a little miffed, which I get. I get frustrated just along with everybody else when I'm watching coverage and it's whatever. But the whole boycotting them to prove a point, and I don't understand what the boycotters hope to gain. They already know it's not working right. They already know it's not the product they wanted. But by not watching it, your protest, to me, does nothing but hurt.
Yeah, and I think it's not really a big secret that the Pro Tour has come up and has done some really great things to contend with and or elevate and then push the national tour to another level. And whether that was outright Steve's intention from the get-go or not, is maybe only Steve might know. But the national tour, because of the way the Pro Tour has stepped up and come into the scene, the national tour is constantly improving as well. Because the national tour, I'm there's PDGA folks right outside the door that I love, and I've been a PDGA member for 25 years. The national tour became a little stagnant. Because
it was the only thing.
It was the only thing, and there wasn't a competitor, so to speak, to it. And so the Pro Tour has done so many things to push it, and now you see a little bit of a jousting match every single weekend. The national tours are all trying to make sure that their events are amazing and continue to be great and grow and thrive. And the Pro Tour, of course, is trying to improve every single weekend as well. So if you want to say are they going to help, or what's the benefit, or how are they good, I think that's the number one reason right there. Yeah. The question to be really answered 1, 2, 5 years down the road is, will there ever be some form of consolidation?
Right.
And who will be running it, who won't, what will that look like, what will PDGA employees, Disc Golf Pro Tour employees, media companies, what would that mean if that ever became kind of a consolidated effort? And EMAC, you've been around the national tour scene since, of course, the beginning in 2003.
I played the first national tour.
La Mirada?
Yep.
Steve Rico, champion,
Yep.
Little Spoon.
Yep.
How do you feel about what we've seen? I mean, we've seen the Glassbone remain a national tour event, a staple, and obviously here 1600, one of the biggest and most successful ever. How do you see them as they continue
back in the 1600s?
No, up to 1600.
This tournament's been going for a
very, very long time.
Game of Thrones.
I mean, it's and I think at least I'm pretty sure all manufacturers kind of look at the same player bonus wise as a Pro Tour versus a national tour.
No,
so there's still quality events regardless. I think our reason for being with the national tour is just and I mean I don't want to speak for anybody here, but with the national tour we can kind of control what we do here.
Sure.
If it's a Pro Tour event, it's a little bit different with other manufacturers coming in, and we've worked really very, very hard to keep this event, not just DD, but DD, Latitude, Westside, all three companies, but we don't want necessarily, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody or anything like that, but it'd be weird to see an end of a banner at our tournament or a commercial on and that's essentially what would happen with a Pro Tour event. And I'm not saying that that's why we're not a Pro Tour event.
Sure.
But we've just been loyal with the PDGA being an NT. And to me, growing up when I was on tour, NT was just the one step down from winning a major. I mean, it was major, NT, A tier. And I don't know, and maybe it's my old school mentality, but the national tour to me is just it's still up there. It's still quality. It's still above and beyond.
Do we need more? I mean, there's 6
more
of them
NTs?
this year. Yeah.
It'd be nice, I think.
Because nobody can sustain just purely being on the national tour. Nobody could 10 years ago, and we'll say the same today. And that was one of, I think, Dodge's goals with the Pro Tour was, hey, I want to create at least 10 or more weekends a year. And if you're doing this and you're doing well at these, that could be a sizable income.
Yeah, absolutely. And should there be more? Sure. I think that'd be great if there was more NTs, but then you get into the stepping of toes. It's like, is there going to be an NT in a pro tour on the same weekend? Then what happens?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, how far away from that are we? Or back in the day, and I sound old,
I'm there with you, buddy.
but
we're
back in
a few weeks
back in our
apart.
days, I remember playing Beaver State Fling one weekend, and that Thursday, the next Thursday, Sunday, Beaver State ended on Sunday. I played that tournament. That next Thursday, I was playing Maple Hill.
Bro.
Yeah.
That's about as far traveling as you could possibly get.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And
Ugh.
so what I do love about the Pro Tour and the National Tour is working together as far as a schedule that let's do the West Coast swing, and then let's go to the Midwest, and then head out east, and then to the South and whatnot. But back then it was a struggle.
And to be, I don't want to sound like I'm calling you out, but you were one of the guys that was on the tour that wanted to be touring and make it a viable, realistic, path. And
Absolutely.
you were also vocal then when that didn't happen. And I think we finally are getting to a point where, like, if you really want to play good quality caliber events that make real money, there is now a sustainable path. There's a route.
There
and
is.
people can choose to be on it or not, but it finally now exists.
Yep. And it coexists with the Pro Tour and the National
Yeah.
Tour. I mean, it does follow somewhat of a path. And back then, it was tough because there were certain cities that this is when our staple event is. This is when it's gonna be. We're
No
not
matter
changing.
what.
And for instance, like Glassbone has been. When I first started Glassbone Open, it was in August. You know why I had it in August? Because it doesn't rain in August in Kansas. It's just hot.
Yeah.
But we moved it because it's a little more challenging to close down 2 ball golf courses in the middle of summer as it is this time of year when, golfers are not necessarily playing or not getting out as much. It's a little different now. I think if we wanted to move the event, they would allow us to move it and rent. Basically, I mean, because we do it at Worlds and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, that was the reasoning back then why we did it. And our event now being at the end of April, toward the beginning of May, I think it's not risky, but as you've seen in the past few years, we've had some weather struggles. I mean, it's the Midwest. That's what happens, But judging from the weather that I'm looking at for this week, it's going to look amazing. I'm excited for that. But, it is what it is. It's also, it could be bad, but it could also be the absolute best weather you've ever experienced in Emporia. Yeah. And that's what Wednesday is going to bring.
And that's what confused me. Well, not that, but going back to the Pro Tour thing, people talking about the Pro Tour succeeding or failing or boycotting it.
Right.
It makes no sense to watch these events fail because there are people that says, "Oh, don't worry, the pros will still go." And take a look at this past weekend. Every pro before this was all spread out. There were 3 A tiers. Everybody spread out. Nobody had a truly deep field. Everybody had about 7,000-8,000 rated players, and they all played really well.
Right.
But if you don't force these players to compete against each other, a lot of them will split up to make it easier on themselves because
bonus.
Yeah,
Well,
bonus.
they're trying to stay on the road.
Yeah, I can take a top 3 or a top 4 at an event where there's only 40 pros as opposed to a Pro Tour event where there might be 60 or 70. You would have to make these A tiers. They would have to go from a Pro Tour to a National Tour if the Pro Tour fails, or we are going to lose the tour again, so to speak, until something else comes up. And it could take a few years. So to me, the big success of the Pro Tour is working with the PDGA and forcing the hand of a good schedule for our young and upcoming pros so that we can support people like AJ Risley who can go out every week and compete now.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a Smashbox Answer Man tour.
I
2020?
believe- 2020 Smashbox Answer Man Tour.
Yeah, exclusive.
Exclusive.
Yeah,
Only us playing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm looking around. Okay,
It's going to be
You're into it.
highly competitive.
We'll get you to 900, Bobby.
We'll cash top 40% of the field. Don't worry about it. Anyway, so I do some quick math. Anyway,
Do some quick math.
this is one thing that I've said about the Pro Tour from the beginning, and that I still think is true, is Steve has made it viable for so many people to be full-time touring pros, and that was somewhat possible with a national tour. But you had to really perform at those 6 events to be able to make it work.
Well, back then there was more than just
Yeah,
6,
definitely. But
yeah.
there's just he's done so well to get more people out on the road full time, and that's I think elevated the play from a lot of our players, because somebody like AJ's a great player, and when if he's just local in California, he's gonna be 990 to 1010, but nobody's really gonna know who he is, and at this point that'd be a shame, and there's a lot of people like that. And so huge props to Steve for making this happen so that it could be more viable for more than the top 10, top 15 to be on the road. I feel like we've probably got 40 to 50 people at every event who are full time.
Having, and again, it's all, as I was saying to somebody, it's all symbiotic, because the Pro Tour caused these players to be able to get out, which caused these media companies like Smashbox and all the post-production guys to be able to follow them to create a whole new industry, which is altogether improving and increasing our viewership. So without the Pro Tour, you probably wouldn't have your post-production guys nearly as out there. They couldn't be. And so our sport might not be growing nearly as much as we've seen over the past 5 years. I mean, it is all working together right now, and I think that if we can keep this momentum, we've got a lot of good years in front of us.
Yeah, I agree.
Bring back the American tour. That's all I gotta say.
Dude, that is the. I was about to say something about that. That was
all right.
Where's
something
Terry's mute button?
special. Anyway,
All right, let's see if we can help Arthur with his game. He says, I play open at all local tourneys because I know the courses and throw well on them, and play open in other courses I haven't played but don't do so well. Should I step down?
What's your rating? That's always my first question.
Yeah,
What's
it's a
your
good-
rating?
Good question.
Arthur.
Because and what I'll say to that is, you tell us that you play well there, and I think we've all experienced it. Sometimes when you're playing in your hometown tournament, it's the course you could play it with your eyes closed, and you shoot 12 under every single weekend you play it. The tournament starts up, and you go and you shoot 3 over. Why? Probably because you put a lot of extra pressure on yourself. Oh man, I birdie this hole every week with my eyes closed.
It's so hard to play good at home.
It is.
How many Glass Blown Opens have you won?
3.
When was the last one?
2010.
Awesome.
Do you feel like there's added pressure though?
Absolutely there is.
Every time
Absolutely
you come
there
here.
is.
so many people know who you are from home who come out to play. You're trying to put on a show for those people, and it's just a little bit more on your shoulder.
So but my first question is always, what is your rating? If you're telling me you're 945 and you're playing in open, then you may have a whole nother different outlook, in my opinion, than if you're 990 and you're playing at home.
He doesn't have a PDGA number yet.
All right.
So was his answer.
Okay, so he doesn't technically have a rating.
Doesn't have a rating.
So you kind of just have to maybe be honest and look at what your scores are, and not just, I shot a 12. I might have taken that one out of the woods, and this one I took 3 shots
Threw a mulligan.
Threw a mulligan or 2 in there. Be honest with yourself. Play and watch these pros. And again, first of all, get a PDGA number. Support the PDGA. Get your rating. All that other good stuff. There's plenty of, trust me, there's a lot of talks behind the scenes. We're going to see some really cool things from the PDGA coming up. And then figure out where you're at. Because if, like Terry said, if you're in that 950 to 980 range, I can understand your confusion maybe. That's right where I was for a long time. I could play advanced and do well in advance almost every weekend, or I play pro and I try to scrape bottom cash. I lived there for 10 years. But if you're less than 950, I always recommend just probably stick with advanced in most tournaments. Maybe once in a while step up to open to see how you do at your home courses.
Depends on what you want out of it.
Yeah,
too.
it depends what you want out of it.
Totally.
All right, so let's switch gears. This is a question from, is it pronounced Colte? Colt. Just Colt Breck.
Colt, I love that guy.
And apparently he loves himself because he gave himself a heart on his own comment. So
I've given him a few hugs.
The classic self-heart.
Right. So, so we have, in a sense, 3 commentators. Eric Bidet.
Minus one.
Eric Bidet.
The bidet.
Eric's bidet.
Eric McCabe has done commentary, but of course Terry and Robert have done a lot of commentary on a lot of big tournaments.
Terry just slightly more than me. I'm just only a few.
Colt wants to know, should there be a rating system for commentators?
Ooh, okay.
With rated rounds each time they commentate. Then have minimum ratings requirements for certain even tier commentating. I don't know if he's kidding or he's just trying to insult people, but he wants to know in other words, this is his system. Any rating for C tiers and lower, so anybody can commentate.
Okay.
Must be 935 plus to commentate on B tiers, 970 plus to commentate on A tiers, and a Disc Golf Pro Tour. It must be 1,000 rated commentator to do majors and NTs. Now,
you're talking actual commentator rating, not
a player,
rating.
Commentator rating.
In other words,
it's not the same
take
rating.
It to another
You
level.
have 2 ratings on your PDGA.
Nice. I got 2.
Take comments to
thought.
another rating. In other words, another level. In other words, not only do I want to be able to berate you on the comments because I don't like you, now I want to be able to rate you and everybody else know what your rating is and how bad or good you are.
Who gets to determine this rating? That's
That's what I'm going to say. Think about the modern age, the websites. You can go to ratemyprofessor.com and go to any college and find out what that professor, what they're good at, what they're bad at, why they, the tests they give. We could, not that anyone is going to, create something like that for commentators, whether it's post-production live, because they're 2 totally different things.
Yeah. Sure.
Filling time.
Oh, absolutely.
This past weekend we saw at Jonesboro, there was a 4-group backup on the women's coverage where Nate and Val just had to fill time. So that was a half hour of them just talking.
Yeah.
That is a skill. That is an entire post-production round.
Yeah.
And if you did something like a Rate My Commentator, you could have all the commentators on there. Oh, look, Robert McCall. Oh, man, you messed up names 3 times today.
That doesn't sound like me. I'm just kidding.
I don't think so, Bill.
So, I mean, just you could have a selection and literally create a rating for somebody if anyone cared that much. Now, I'm sure that he's being a little more facetious than anything else,
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, we've all heard bad commentators.
Yeah.
We've all said, I probably wouldn't have said that, but
It's so much
usually
easier.
Terry.
It's so much easier though to say that while you're watching it than when you're
when
you got a
you're
microphone in
armchair.
your face and you're
Exactly.
talking. It's
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, but that brings up an interesting topic where we're going to keep it real. In that, a lot of times I see Danny's a little flustered by my keep it real.
For those who can't see
What
Danny,
does the button have? What's
he
going
just
on?
it makes it echo. It's the worst. Danny took off his headphones because he was so mad. See, thank you.
According to the comments, I would be 1,000 rated keep it realer. Is that
Is that right? Is that what
Anyway,
they said?
my
Okay.
point, what I'm trying to get at is that, and I'm not trying. Hopefully, I don't offend anybody or step on anybody's
let's-
toes.
No,
Hey,
no. Hey, Bobby,
let's
you
get
already
after
said keeping it real.
Now listen. Terry and I are doing this week, so
All right.
just leave us out of it. But anybody else is fine.
My thing is, being good at disc golf does not equate to being good at commentating on disc golf.
120%. Yeah.
But
agreed.
I think a lot of these, and I mean, obviously, I got to pick on the Disc Golf Pro Tour because they're the tour out there,
Sure.
right? And it feels like they're trying to use the notoriety of someone to make people want to watch it, and I think it is having the opposite effect for some people. They just because they're good at it at disc golf at playing it doesn't mean they're good at commentating.
Let me interject real
unwrap that a
quick.
little bit.
Noel, let me interject and say the same can be said of course designers.
Right.
A lot
just
of people are
because
like,
you're a good
dude,
player, yeah.
like this 9-10 rated guy designed my course. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's not world class.
Right.
Look at John Houck.
I mean,
I mean, honestly,
Right.
that's exactly it. Like just because you're a good disc golfer doesn't
Yep.
mean necessarily you can design
Yeah.
a good disc golf course.
look at. I'm just kidding.
waiting for a name there. So
Hey, the keep it real button has been pushed. You can say what you
That's only for Bobby. I need to find Eric's
Yeah,
keep it
I know,
real.
right?
I'll go ahead and say that when it comes to that commentator role and the position, as we said, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, and this is not to say that I think I'm good at it. I've
think
always
you're
said
good
this.
at it.
I do it because I have to. Like when I started doing it on my videos for post-production 5 years ago or 8 years ago, is because I was the guy filming, I was the guy editing, so I was the guy doing the commentary. So there was this natural progression, and I haven't taken offense when someone else has said, "Oh, so and so is going to commentate instead of me." I'm cool with that as well. However, with even that being said, there are times, whether it's been live or post-production, and this spans the last few years, so I'm not going to totally call anyone out. I hear commentary that I think is just terrible.
Yeah.
And they've been by really good pros, and they've been by not so good pros. But then you read the comments, and it's like, oh, I love that person. I love that person.
That was
I'm
so
like,
great.
what did I... Are we listening to the same people
There
right
was
now?
a really good thread, go figure, on Course Review recently about just basically we have a glut of color commentators.
Yes.
Everybody wants
We
to
don't have
describe the game and what the pros are doing and this and
Right.
that. And if it's one complaint I've heard about the Pro Tour recently with Nate and Val, is that they're both color people. They both want to tell you about the stuff, about what the golfer is doing. There's no one that's just going to say, all right, AJ Risley steps up on the tee with a driver, puts it about 30 feet past.
Right.
And there's nobody that wants to do this and just tell you about what's happening. There's we have very few play-by-play people, and everybody wants to be a color person, and it makes it very difficult when you have two people
of
like
them.
that.
Yeah.
And we don't really have we don't have a play-by-play person really.
No,
I think
not.
you, Dixon, I think can be very good at it. There are a few people that fit a particular role when needed, and I've always said this about you, Terry, in general. You've got an iron trap for a memory, which I don't understand at all because you're so dumb in other things.
Not bright at all. Wait, what would you say?
But you can play both sides of the story because you know a lot of the stories behind the stories,
Right.
and you could just sit there and let somebody take the lead. And that's why that's why in general, I mean, I've known you for 25 for 30 years almost, well, way too long. It's why I have no problem when you're in front of the camera or behind the camera or wherever your role is.
Yeah.
But we need people that don't want to talk as much.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. I think, Nate and Val would be great. They're good together. They could be great individually with the right person. I heard Jeff Spring did
And
a
that's
very
where
good
I think
job.
Jeff Spring,
And
kind of came in to help break that
I
up
didn't
a
really
little
listen
bit.
to any of it because I was on vacation, but that's my understanding is that we just need someone to throw it to the color commentators.
Yeah.
Robert, what do you want to do this weekend? What should we do? I like to just throw stuff to you. I'm really good at playing dumb and then letting you come in and just
Nice.
Knocking
Give
it out of the
them-
park.
yeah.
You know what? I'll just do whatever we want to. Doesn't much matter to me. I will say one thing just about commentators and their rating and stuff like that. So, all right, let's talk about some. Here's a commentator that I think is widely disliked in sports, not in disc golf, but widely disliked in sports.
Joe Buck.
Joe Buck.
Yep.
Everyone says, I can't stand Joe Buck. Why is Joe Buck on this podcast? Well, tell that to his illustrious career of commentating on
Everything.
every sort of major sports event out there.
And his dad was a commentator for, I think, the Cardinals for years.
Yeah. Jack Buck, right?
Yeah, Jack Buck.
Yeah. So, like, yes, your opinion is important. And if there's enough people that are like, wow, this is ridiculous, I think they're probably not the only people thinking that. But I think there comes a time where if you just, if a person is good enough at it and they've done it for long enough, it doesn't matter how much you like or don't like them. They've got their gig solidified.
Yeah, absolutely.
You start your Joe Buck hate fan club on Facebook. Well, Joe Buck's cashing his $6 million
It's actually Joe Buck sucks. If you
Yeah,
wanna
Joe
go check
Buck
it out.
sucks.
It's
Exactly.
out there. Trust me.
Exactly. So while
yeah.
he's at the bank cashing his
Yeah,
$10 million
he's having someone
commentator
manage
check,
his Facebook for him.
yeah, exactly.
He never sees Facebook.
There is a degree where
What's
you have to
Facebook?
continue that thick skin of just like, all right,
Yeah.
I get it. You don't like me. I appreciate when people want to be polite and say nice things about any or all of us on any given day.
Right.
And then there's, the people that don't, and it's like, cool story. I got to keep doing what I'm doing here because you're not being helpful.
I think it doesn't matter the commentator. You can find negative comments about every one of them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Anything.
everyone dislikes
Anything-
something about everything.
Not just
Exactly.
commentary, but that's just in general.
This is like in
Tournaments,
general,
course
tournaments.
design,
Yeah.
disc,
Yeah,
everything.
if you look, there's people are going to be like, I really don't like this person. Everyone's like, what are you, nuts? But ultimately, we get what we have right now, and until someone really steps up to a particular role, we're going to have what we have.
I'll say I think it's mildly short-sighted or ignorant to say it should only be our top pros commentating on
I
a
agree.
golf. I
agree.
So I guess that brings it all the way kind of back to, what should you be rated or does it matter? I think that's an ignorant statement.
Yeah.
That you do not have to be either in contention for the event or playing in the event to necessarily have a good grasp
I mean,
of what's going on.
go back to Joe Buck. Like, tell me the professional sports he's played. Zero.
Well, it's kind of like for me, it's not bad. It's just kind of awkward when people do commentary on their own round too.
Yeah, I was gonna
like when it's
That's difficult.
Like if, for instance, if it's a Jomez video or whatever, and Germ is on the card, it's just kind of awkward when they talk about themselves on
I don't.
the round. Not always.
Depends how they do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but-
But sometimes it can be just a little weird.
What always gets me is when I listen to some of the post production from anybody, and the commentators sound surprised.
Yeah.
Like the
Right.
pro commentary, I'm like, really?
Come on,
you
dude.
were in that card,
Yeah.
or you were the
Yeah.
card
Oh my
behind them.
goodness.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't think he could do that.
It's even better when it's about themselves.
Right.
Wow!
Wow.
Putt.
I can't
I'm
believe that
really
went
that
in.
good.
Okay, well, you should
And
check your
so-
memory.
so it's one of the reasons that we, and not that we would never expand, that we've chosen live, because there really is that true
Yeah.
sports reaction you get.
There are
when
no spoilers in sports.
there are no spoilers in sports, and ultimately, I love it. I just don't get the drama from a lot of the post production stuff.
Right.
And I think it's possible. We just haven't had, again, just like commentators, we haven't had anyone that's been able to do it yet.
Right.
So Robert, you've done, as you said, quite a bit of live.
I've done some posts.
And some posts.
And a
Yeah.
little bit of post, yeah, and that was where my
10
next
or
question
10 or
was
so
going to go
rounds
to
maybe,
you
yeah.
is, what do you know? Maybe you enlighten people can hear me babble about it, but enlighten everyone as to what your mindset is doing a round of post production commentary versus a round of live. Like,
Sure.
how do you mentally prepare? What are some of the things that you're conscious of?
Right.
As you're
I think if you want to do well in live, you need to be much more researched, right? It's super. I know, right? But it's super helpful. It's super helpful for both to be right in my brain. And I think it's super helpful for both to be researched. But live, if you don't have that thing in front of you, if you don't have your stats, if you don't have how this person played here last year or in the years past, or unless if you have a spectacular memory like Terry does, where he can just recall that stuff.
Makes a lot of it up, too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how you sell
That doesn't sound right. No, it's fine.
And I'm pretty sure Eric won this last year.
of course. Right, Eric?
Right, yeah.
Moving
That
on.
sounds good.
Wasn't even there.
So
But if you don't have that set up, then yeah, you can just get kind of caught up in rambling. When it comes to post, you have unlimited shots if you want to. You could if these now I know for a fact most of the time on Jomez and those sort of things, it's a one take.
Sure.
You press record, you start talking. If something messes up, you're like, whatever, it's cool. And I have respect for that too. But in live, there's never a reset button.
Mm-hmm.
You are out there without a parachute, and if you fall, good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
So
Let's start that over.
yeah. Wait, can we do the segment again?
Reput that!
Yeah. So
okay.
for me, I think it's different skills. I think there are some people who would be exceptional at both. I think there are some people who are much better suited for post over live and vice versa. But I do think it is ignorant may not be the right word, but to say that a great post commentator should always be on live, I disagree with. Because it's like you said, it's a different skill, filling time and making things interesting instead of just having shot.
Shots.
I took you right into it. I didn't mean to. But they're different skills, and they take a totally different mindset.
All right, so let's switch gears again. YouTube, you're watching right now. Sorry, audio listeners, but YouTube, I want you to put your picks for the top, let's say top four, the top card, top four for MPO and top four for FPO. I want you to put your predictions in the chat, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Our thoughts on all that, and then of course get our thoughts on who do we think is going to do well at the tournament this year. But while we're letting people plug that into the chat, let's talk a little bit about where we see disc golf. Okay, so we're looking back at years in the past. We're talking about the struggles we've been through, the challenges, the lessons we've learned. I know it's maybe hard, but maybe 5 years down the road, 10 years, not so much, maybe a wish list. And then where do you really think you'll see us?
We're right on the cusp, man. I
I
swear,
know.
we're right on the cusp.
Dude,
You know,
look
it's
at skateboarding, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Pretty sure
they
I
were
heard,
just like us.
Like it's just like
MTV Sports say that.
yeah,
like 20 years
Dan
ago.
Cortez.
Dan Cortez. That's it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was watching some coverage.
Stokely,
It was the 1990 World or something like
Yeah.
that.
Something like
It was
that.
a Pizza Hut presents something, and they were saying it was like you could have listened to it today.
Yeah.
When they said disc golf was just right on the
We're
cusp.
just
of
about to make it. Just
mainstream.
hold your breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it one of those things where it's not a destination, it's just the journey? I mean, when will we quote
You
what
may
make it?
live
Yeah,
an
tell me.
unfulfilled life
Right.
if you think it's just all about that tipping point.
Tell me what making it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And-
making
and
it to
that's
you is
just it.
different to me.
Exactly.
Possibly.
Yeah, and I kind of, I think, I don't know where I went off on a rant the other day about, and I'll give you the bridge version, which is we've grown, we've continued at a great, slow, steady growth, and making it on ESPN has been cool, but it certainly hasn't changed all of our lives. Do we even want to get on TV anymore? What does that even mean? When you have people making multi-million-dollar contracts being on YouTube for lots of different reasons. I mean, the landscape and all of the media has changed so drastically that like you just said, Eric, everyone's end goal, I think, is a little bit different, what that really means and when we've made it or not. And who's to say we need to make it any further than we have? If we have 5,000 or 8,000 die-hard fans watching come Saturday afternoon, and those are 8,000 of the most dedicated disc golfers in the world, Dynamic Disc is winning. Right. Like that's a great weekend for DD. That's a great weekend for your products and your advertising. That's a great weekend for the PDGA. That's a great weekend. That's a huge win for all of us. Why are we caught up that it has to be a certain mysterious number that we're just pulling out of thin air? Why do we think it has to be, oh, well, once you get to 50,000, then you're big time? But are we? I mean, there's a lot of things that get, you know.
I think
look at every video game that gets 100,000 live viewers on specific weekends. Like, there's always someone better than you.
Yeah, or even Twitch streamers right now. One person playing a video game who will get 60, 70,000 viewers. Like,
and of course that blows my mind because I haven't played a video game in years, and I think, how is that a big deal? But so it's all relative, and if we have these people and we have their attention and we have them watching what we're putting out and what everyone's putting out, I feel like we are winning. And we just put way too much emphasis, I think, on growing the numbers as opposed to growing the commitment and the brands and the togetherness and the family that we have all kind of loved. Eric, I think you can speak as well as anyone on all of this. As what have you seen what excites you about where we're going?
Since you're old.
Yeah, since I'm old.
Thanks,
You're
bro.
just like me, buddy.
Since I'm
and
old.
Johnny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, one thing that I have always told people is, back in the day, I say that a lot.
Yeah.
But back in the day,
we can do that now.
Exactly. I've graduated to that level. But I remember when I first went out on the road, how did you check results?
Oh.
You waited for the magazine to come out, and then you flipped through the back and looked for your name.
Yeah, that's all you cared about. Is my name in there?
Yeah.
Oh man, they only listed 12
they
people.
spelled my name
13.
wrong.
Yeah,
like honestly, that's how it used to be, and you didn't have like websites to go to and look at the tour and see what events are coming up, and I mean, I remember going to tournaments and there was some round coverage of people out there with like video cameras filming, like literally video cameras. And I'm like, cool. I wonder when I'm ever gonna see that. It's like, well, maybe they'll put out a DVD or something. Who knows? I'm still waiting for that Chains DVD.
yes.
But
Dude, it's
gonna be sick. But no, it's crazy how much it has evolved and how much it has changed just from when I was first started touring in 2003. I mean, going on the road was a lot different then than it is now.
What are the things that you feel have been like big wins in terms of where we've progressed?
World?
Yeah,
I mean,
what have been big wins for us as a disc golf community?
For me, being able to watch live disc golf is huge.
Aww.
Honestly,
he didn't even.
He meant Disc Golf Planet, I think.
Disc Golf Planet started it. I mean, shout out,
Crazy John. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, seeing that look on Shoestrick's face. Priceless.
Yeah, it was.
It honestly was.
It absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know what we're talking about,
spoiler alert. It was when he was doing his post interview, and come to find out, somebody came and told him, "Hey, you didn't add your scorecard up. That's a 2-stroke penalty. You are now tied with Macbeth."
Yeah.
Playoff.
Yep.
At the Memorial. I'll never forget it. It was crazy.
As you're watching it.
That was 13. Is that right?
13.
2013. But that's one, being able to watch live coverage is obviously just crazy to me, from back. I would love it back when I was on tour to be able to have my parents be at home watching me play. That'd be so cool. And obviously, I'm a Sports Center guy. I love Sports Center. I've watched it my entire life probably. Yep. And seeing those aces I'll never forget. We were on the RV, Bobby and I were on the RV riding home when Doss's because DOS was the 1st,
Yeah.
and it was number 10, and we're like, that's the coolest thing ever. And then a couple of weeks later, a couple months later, GBO.
Yeah. All of us were in a radius when,
Yeah.
when Billy
Engle.
Billy Engle,
And I remember sitting there watching it at home, and it was like, oh man, it must not have made it, because it was like coming down to number 3, and there's like number 2, and I'm like, there it is! Oh my god, that's our
we
course.
flipped.
It was so cool.
Yeah,
like,
we were on. Like I said, it was one of the most fun times, and that's one of the reasons maybe that I love GBO so much. Was that we were at one of the local establishments that's on the same street as the Block Party.
Yeah.
It was Terry and I and I think Paul Oman and Dana Vici, and we're all just sitting there waiting, and like we heard it was gonna be on. Oh, it's not. That's it. And then
boom, it hit.
Like there's like 6 of us, and we're just cheering, and you realize like that's great. Okay, now what?
and then it's over.
Right.
Yeah, and you're like, and
And then Facebook blows up for a little while, and then it calms down.
But-
like
yeah,
even
but it doesn't make us any bigger.
even Paul's like breakdown, that was huge. That was
was
big
awesome.
for people to see. I mean, it was phenomenal to see the whole breakdown of the round. It's not just, oh, here's an ace, cool, let's move on to the next thing.
Right.
Here's soccer, somebody scored a goal, number 2, cool. That's kind of what it seems like it's been. But like seeing that breakdown was just, it was like we had made it. It is what I think a lot of the mindset was from players like me from back in the day and people that absolutely love SportsCenter.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that we need to be on SportsCenter to make it. I really don't.
But it helps.
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
There's millions of views that way, but there's also potential millions of views through like a YouTube channel or a website. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be on cable TV. Who has cable anymore?
No, that's the next
I
question.
think all these little things are just either a part of the puzzle or part of the journey. There's not the one destination. I think part of it is our society is so used to watching the 30-minute sitcom where the situation or the problem is solved by the end of the 30 minutes, or a movie. The hero gets the girl at the end of the movie type thing, where we think there's got to be some destination where disc golf has made it, but it's actually a journey. These little pieces of the pie, pieces of the puzzle put together will make us bigger and grow. And even if we were on ESPN, I mean, it's kind of like what you said. Even if the Glassbone Open was being shot out to ESPN, there would still be that question. Okay, well now what? What's next?
Yep.
CBS Sports now having 2 tournaments on ESPN, having 3 tournaments, having the entire Disc Golf Pro Tour. There's always something next. It just feels like these people that are new to disc golf, they come along, they're so used to these other sports, and they come along and they're like, man, I love this sport so much. Why isn't it as mainstream as some of the other sports
Why am I
enjoy?
seeing bags on ESPN? That's always the big one. But I think we, in general, a little more philosophical, as a culture, we've changed over the last 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Think about how
absolutely.
niche everything is these days. If there are so many good TV shows that you can't watch them all.
Right.
It used to be, hey, did you catch Seinfeld? Because 20 million people watched it.
Right.
What is the last major...
Rolf, Jerry?
Yeah, what is the last major television show on one of the big 3 networks that anyone cares about?
Right.
And you have... If you're into crazy EDM Swedish death metal, there's a group for you.
Right.
And people now are really finding their community.
Right.
You
My
used
tee-off song, by the way.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear it. It used to be where we could go out to Plowman Park and there was 12 people and you knew everyone. You would run into the same 12 people out at Plowman's a local park where we grew up. Now you can't get on the course without a 20-minute wait at least. And
that's cool.
It's great. So it's showing our sport is getting bigger, but how much bigger is it? We're still a small niche sport. And if you love spike ball, there's a niche, there's a community for that. And everybody has their community. And we're at a time in our culture where we don't need to talk to, it's great when we do, but we don't need to have.
We don't need to win over other communities.
We don't need, because we have our community.
Right.
And it's going to be that
and you
way.
kind of nailed it. I mean, for me personally, when you asked me this question, what have I seen? I've seen also this town, our community, go from 1 course in the ground, to
414.
whatever we have now.
Yeah.
I would love
40?
to find out how many baskets are permanently in the ground in Emporia. I guarantee it's the most.
I'd love to know how many throws it takes you to get between the 2 furthest holes.
Yeah.
Because it can't be more
Nice.
than about 20.
That's kind of a cool.
We're gonna film that.
I mean, you think about it.
That would be cool.
where is the furthest
Start an
distance
OP.
between two holes in your city?
Just in Emporia.
In Emporia,
In Emporia,
because-
Kansas, it would probably be somewhere at Jones to Pan, I guess.
Yeah.
Would be what it would be. But
What an adventure we would
Oh
have.
yeah.
It would
Well,
be
you have
fun.
to do it during glow.
I mean,
yeah,
I
at
would
night.
throw it into my car,
Yes.
drive.
So the only bad thing about I like your scenario with the niche, and it's very, very true. Look at Reddit. You could search anything.
There's a community for everybody.
Everybody has a
The only bad
subreddit,
thing
yeah.
about niches is that the Star Wars TV series, you have to subscribe to Disney Plus to watch it. Have you seen the trailer for it? So man, I was like, great, another thing. Everything's
Yeah.
breaking up. Disney won't have stuff on Netflix because they want to have their own channel.
Are you talking about the Mandalorian?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's you have to.
I'm going to
anyway,
subscribe.
so-
I am too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it. So.
Have to.
All right, so let's get to some disc golf talk. Some glass blown open. So we're seeing the usual suspects coming in
What's
on
that?
the YouTube: the Macbeth, the Eagle, the Simon Lizotte.
Wait, who?
Never heard of him.
Never heard?
Oh, good luck to those guys.
So what do we think? I mean, Macbeth wins a tournament this year, and suddenly he's back. Tiger
or
Woods
wins a dozen of them.
Or shot a perfect
Right.
round.
Right, but I mean, it's always
He's back above 1050.
Right.
It is funny to think of all the people who are like, he's washed, he's
Right.
terrible.
Just won by 10 this last weekend.
Yeah.
So what chances does Macbeth have in being really actually looking at the course in Emporia Country Club? And I'm not sure how well I know how many times he won it in the years past. Of course, it wasn't.
He's
only
won it
Country.
twice.
Was Country Club
Country
part
Club
of
both
it?
times.
Okay, well this is. But was it all round for Country Club or?
No, because that's only been past.
Couple years.
Last year was the first year we did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Eagle's the only person who's done that.
Okay, so knowing Macbeth is
One time.
obviously a good player.
Yeah.
He's very good, but he doesn't win every single thing.
Well,
Well, let's check the month of April.
I say he's
You're not
what's
wrong.
his chance of winning the entire thing?
I think he has a very good chance.
yeah. I mean, if you're putting a percentage on it, you have to go higher than 50%. It's like you got to figure he's at a 60% chance to win this event.
Yep. I agree.
And he has every tool available to him.
Right.
If he needs a forehand, if he needs distance,
Right.
for Paul particularly, it just depends how aggressive he gets.
Yeah.
Is he going to push the basket every time? He usually does. And if he's successful in it, he's going to win.
Yep.
If he goes out of bounds more than somebody else, he still might win, but he's probably not going to win. It's not going to be as easy for him.
And I like the new changes out at the country club. Actually, are going to make it a lot. I personally think there's going to be a lot more people in contention coming down the stretch.
Good.
And,
Why do you say that? Explain what you mean by that.
Well, I mean,
Terry, this is my podcast.
Sorry.
Eric, what do you mean? Kind of unpack that for us, please.
great question, Bobby.
Question, Bobby.
Wow, man, I'm glad
you should
somebody
do this
asked
full
that.
time.
Great
I am
question,
glad
Bobby.
someone asked that.
Well, in the years past, it's been very close. I would say, as far as people toward the top. I guess the top 10 have always been somewhat close to each other. I think last year it was Eagle and was it Simon battling last year?
Drew was up there as
Drew
well.
was up there. That's right. He had the spit out.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no. There's been come on, it was going 99 mile an hour. But no, the course is set up great. I think we've changed almost every hole.
Really?
Almost, not quite, because I mean, even the hole one's the same. The holes that were all on the cart path now have their own tee pad,
Yes.
and they've been moved.
Their uniform.
Yeah,
they're
the course is looking great, but I personally think the cream rises to the top, and I personally think the course is going to bring the great player out. And there's a lot of great par fours out there. There's a lot of great par fives out there, and I personally think it's the weather is what's really making me think that scoring is going to be great. And I think you're going to see a lot of birdies. I think you're going to see a few eagles out there. Now, I do have a bet with Doug Bjerkes
Oh yeah.
on hole number 8,
Right.
the new par 5. Are you familiar with?
I haven't seen that one yet.
But are you familiar with the shot where we used to throw from the pool?
Yep.
Old number
Just
1.
Big hyzer.
Down to the
get save.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that is now skip a hole, and you're playing from there to the next hole.
Oh wow. Okay.
The one where you
And-
teed kind of up over the hill
Yep.
that rides
Yep.
down to the water.
Pond on the left.
Yep.
There's
Sidewalk
a little
on
bit
the
of OB
right.
now to the left.
Yep.
There's like a triangle of OB right down
Exactly.
the
The
water.
tall grass is all OB, and
Danny's
then the cart
way-
path. And
Face that hole.
yep. But we put a new pin placement too,
Okay.
about 90 feet or so longer
Right.
than it is, and that's what the MPO are playing in. And I told Doug, I don't think anyone's going to get a 3 on it. all week, and he thinks 3 people are going to get
No.
threes on that hole.
There's none.
What's distance again? Downhill, but
Downhill, I
distance?
think it's 990.
Yeah.
990.
990.
Right.
It's not the distance. Is that all right? So if you get all of the drive, you're still not going to be on the crest of the hill. Even if you are, the only way to get to the basket from there is either a huge Anheuser over everything or a huge hyzer over everything. Mind you, like a 480-foot hyzer
To a
over
postage
everything.
stamp green.
Yes, surrounded by out of bounds.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if somebody threes.
I
And
think-
a 4 is not a gimme.
Yeah.
The drive is a little bit trickier than it looks to land far enough to get to the trees, because if you're not to the trees on your second shot, you're not getting a 4.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I think the only way someone's getting a 3 on that is if they drain
Throw
like
it
a
in.
60 or an 80-foot.
Yeah, exactly my thought there too. And then the next hole is a wooded hole. We have a wooded hole.
Yeah.
At the course now,
Oh, that's
we
what-
actually carved out a hole, and
That's
it
the one where
is.
it used to
it
just
plays-
be the Anheuser.
Yep, used to just play, and it was a great hole. I used to
love that
love
hole.
that fairway. I thought it was amazing, but
This is my new favorite hole on the course.
yeah,
100%.
it's actually Matt Sedgwick and I went out there and started cutting holes, cutting trees down.
Shout out, Matty.
Shout out, Matty Ice.
Makes
He's,
it seem like he's died.
I
He
was
doesn't.
gonna
Yeah.
say,
He
is he
goes
dead?
works upstairs.
I was going to ask you, is he dead?
he works
Shout out to
upstairs.
the man upstairs,
yeah,
man.
he
Shout out
works
to the man
upstairs.
upstairs.
He's literally upstairs.
No, we actually. Yes. Oh man, that reminds me. I got to show you a meme later. But okay. We went out there and just started cutting trees down, and the country club was like, no, they were like, yeah, that's not part of the golf course. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And I got to say, shout out to the Emporia Country Club because they have been amazing.
Just today they were great
Just
for
saying,
us.
do what you got to do. Hey, we want disc golf to be successful on our course. You do what you got to do to make this. We poured 7 short tee pads, and then I think 6 other tee pads or something like that. We poured so many new concrete out there. It's ridiculous. There's shout out to the Emporia Country Club for doing things right and really helping us succeed this weekend because it's it's amazing.
we walked in there and we're like, oh yeah, we're doing the live coverage, and so we need to get some things set up, and the gentleman was helping us, and he's like, cool, what can I do? And we're like, okay, well, we're gonna need a spot for our booth. Here, let me show you 3 different places you could put it. Here, or here. Which one's gonna work best for you? Oh, maybe this one. Okay, we'll move the couch out of there, and like, okay, well, we
we were
need
gonna put on
this.
a couch.
Well, let me call somebody, and I'm like,
amazing.
they are fantastic.
They're killing it.
So taking in all these changes, do we think Paul's going to have Macbeth is going to have his typical slow start, and then, or do you think he can? I mean, it seems like typically he doesn't start out super hot.
Yeah.
And then he builds his way back up, and I don't
He's
know
just
if
a
that's
drama queen. He likes.
He
knows
loves
what
the
he's doing.
drama.
Like, I mean, think about Throw It on the Mountain a few weeks ago. You started out slow with a course record and then came back slow, a little less slow with the new course record, and then came back a little less slow finally to close it out with another course record.
Yeah.
He's just a drama queen.
Yeah.
He's just trying to.
It's just what he does.
As
man.
much as I said, I think Paul has a 60% chance of winning. I don't think he's going to win.
Ooh, hot take.
Hot take.
Oh,
And
I
that's
think
Paul's wife speaking. She'd say a hot take on that
I know.
one.
I think
I
that
thought you were calling Johnny his wife. I didn't understand.
I did
Paul's
too.
wife.
Oh, no.
Congratulations.
They look
Hannah
really,
Macbeth would
they
say
look
that.
really similar. They're
Hannah
both
Macbeth
very
would say
tall.
hot take. So.
and I
think
say
there's
that
anything
because
wrong with that.
he has been shooting so well that it's so hard to keep up that pace.
Yeah.
Like it is so hard. And if he wins, obviously no one's gonna be like, well, you went out on a limb there.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna see somebody. I think we're gonna see somebody new.
I'm going to
So,
give
okay,
you
so
2 options.
I'm gonna go
Okay, well,
Kevin.
that way,
I'm
let's not forget. So the returning champion is of course,
Eagle.
Eagle
Yep.
Man.
I think
and-
Eagle's 100% in the discussion. He's one of my
Of
options.
course.
Yes, because today Eric said he saw a shot. Describe the shot for us.
Oh,
Eric,
yeah.
that you
New
told us.
18.
Did
The
he
new
get a birdie?
18.
Come on.
He got a birdie.
Come on.
He got more than a birdie, I think. I don't know. He may have got the birdie. I don't know. But so 18, you guys know how 18 is from
Over the
from
water.
the MPOT. They play the Big Annie up over the road or over the water, sorry, up the fairway, and then it used to be they mash a big hyzer up the hill. Well, this year the pin is closer to the water, shorter, down to the right. He throws the hyzer over the water, basically over hole
the island.
16.
Is that 500?
Oh, it's big. I don't know how far the hole is
The
off the
whole
top of my head.
6 something.
Yeah.
Most people are going to play their tee shot just like before.
And then
over the water
and then play it
turn
over.
directly
90
to the right
degree
and
turn to
throw
the right.
like a,
He goes
a 300-foot shot or something.
he goes boom this way, big mash
Yeah.
hyzer over 16 the island green,
Yeah.
and crashes inbounds.
Yeah. The easiest 3 there ever was.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
And I think effective distance to throw that shot truly is probably 600 feet.
I agree.
That is, it didn't travel 600 feet, but
the height you got to get on it.
You have to throw
yeah,
it.
at least.
We should attach a drone to his disc so we can get a whole
Ooh,
preview
I'm
of that.
super interested in that.
So we'll say, what do we think? New winner for GBO this year or no? I think we're getting a new winner.
So you're saying just new winner is
new winner for GBO.
Nobody, like somebody who hasn't won GBO
Somebody
in
who
the past.
hasn't won GBO in the past.
So a couple names that came
I'll
up
give my other
from the
one after,
chat.
yeah.
Speaking of new people, was Heimberg. A lot
Calvin's my other.
Of course.
Now a lot of people said they'd like to see Garrett or
Double G.
Double G.
Double G
Garrett, he
win
goes
it.
by that too.
But
he's
I
got
don't know
to.
that I don't know that
It's all in the putt. He's got to get.
I don't know that I see anybody putting him. Oh, okay. A couple people did put it in the top 4.
This is a putting course, I think.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of putts out here.
And well, I mean, if there's little wind, as it looks like there might be, I think Garrett's a good chance just based on his distance. He can get close enough.
Incredible distance.
If he can, he's one of the, if not the best driver of the disc on in our tour right now. Like that guy, just if he can get it together on the green, he's gonna win.
Yeah.
He just has had that. He's had that issue inside the circle.
He's got the big distance,
And so-
and I haven't been around in different places as much as Terry and Eric. How much does Kansas wind play into that of the big distance? Because you're getting the big distance, you put the disc way out there. Now I know the pros, they know how to control it, but they're playing in places where there isn't as much wind as definitely not the other day. Where it's 35
They've been playing in
miles.
some wind this year, though.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
So do you
Jonesboro
think they're ready for
looked
the
a little
Kansas
breezy.
wind?
It's not going to be windy.
Well, and
Yeah.
not like
Yeah,
it
right.
was.
What is the weather called?
Not like
for?
it was on
5
Sunday.
to 10 mile an hour
Yeah.
for
Wednesday.
each day.
Like 5 to 10, and then 10 to 15, and then I think Saturday was supposed to be the most at like 15 to 20.
Yeah, which is like standard for us.
Yeah, it's really not that. The way it's not going to be anything like
Right, well, that's
yesterday.
why I say standard for us, but I don't know if it's standard for some of these touring players.
True.
Yeah,
True.
they'll be fine. And I think part of having all that power is being able to take just a ridiculous overstable disc and power it through that wind.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
realizing
Well,
you don't have to try to flex something and fight the wind. You're just going to put it there on a hyzer.
And not just that, but when it gets super windy, it actually helps the player that can't putt as well because everybody's missing putts when it's super windy.
Exactly.
Now, a name we haven't really mentioned that we can have our opinions about how they're doing this year so far and the
I got
changing
opinions.
of the changing of manufacturers and everything, but is Ricky Wysocki. He won Worlds out here.
Yep.
Do we think
Different courses.
this is true, different courses?
Yeah.
But do we think that he can be? His name is in there a couple times on the chat room, but not as much as maybe if we had done this last year, his name would be. What are your thoughts on Ricky's performance out here?
I think he's still up there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're betting on someone to take top 10, Ricky's in the conversation all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense to put him out of there. His big word, he doesn't have the momentum right now.
Right.
He has not been playing.
Yeah, he won Texas States, which was, I mean, that's a good win, but
It's
it's an A tier. It's not
an
a pro
A tier.
tour.
It's
not
one
an
of those
MT.
weekends where you had a small pocket of pros play one spot and a small pocket play another, and I would never again. Depending on the bet, I wouldn't bet against him.
Right.
This doesn't seem like a Ricky style course.
So Eric, that's a question I have for you now is back in the day. When
Back
you,
in the
when
day.
you toured a lot and
Back
stuff.
in
need
the
a
day
button
when
for a
I was
back.
young.
How important is momentum?
Ask Ken Climo.
He's not here, so I'm going to ask
Oh,
you.
dang it.
Let me call him.
You're,
Dang it.
you're just behind him in titles,
yeah.
so we have to ask you.
Just barely. He's got me by 11.
I mean, you have one. He's got 2 ones.
That's true.
That's really all it is.
That's true. Man.
Half the ones.
Now, but really, when you're out there grinding it out, you're
Right.
touring and stuff like that.
Momentum was a big deal back in the day as well, but nothing like it is today.
Yeah.
Because momentum today is a little different. Because if you have momentum today, like Ricky likes to use in the last few years, if you're constantly in the top 5, the top 4 nowadays, you're killing it.
Yeah.
You are killing it. Back then, I mean, we didn't have 30, 40 people. We had like, we not just that, but I mean, we'd be playing B tiers in between, but we didn't have. We had stiff competition. Don't get me wrong. We had great competition, just not as the depth that we have it today. Like when I won Worlds, there was honestly probably maybe what would you say 15 people back then, maybe if that.
Yeah.
Who could have won?
Back then, but now it's like there's honestly a good 30 people that are out there playing that have the ability to go out and win any given weekend. Maybe they're not doing it because they're not quite finishing, but it's a completely different game now than it is then.
Have you guys talked about a little bit, and sponsorship maybe aside, or maybe not, have you guys talked about why we haven't seen Ricky performing as well this year? Have you guys had any?
It's because he took the EMAC truth out of his bag.
Oh, yeah.
Hands
Okay.
down.
There
All
it
right, end
is.
of conversation. All right, done.
You don't know he took it out. I'm just saying.
That is true.
I would
That is-
assume he did.
I guess you are right.
Another name that's been put on the chat.
You don't want to answer his question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was
I
just
thought we'd
asking, have
already-
you guys
yeah.
talked about that at all? And I know it's kind of
I
a
thought we were
difficult
done with
subject
EMAC
when
Truth,
you're
yeah.
talking about
Right.
someone who's been
former
yeah,
sponsored
you know,
player.
well,
Yeah.
not just a former sponsored player of you guys, but so successful. He's had these last couple of great years. Obviously, one of the most elite players in our game, and he still is. But he's clearly not adjusted this year like I think we all expected him to.
And someone mentioned on the chat said that it took him a year to adjust to Latitude 64.
It did.
So maybe this is just
should
that year.
we give him that grace to adjust
No.
to the other brand?
I mean, look at Paul.
To me,
Yeah.
the way
that's
as
a bigger change in my opinion.
This is true,
Paul
yeah.
going to Discraft, who's never thrown Discraft ever,
Definitely a bigger change.
and Ricky used to be sponsored by
he
NFO.
probably
Yeah.
picked up he
For
probably still has
a few years.
had some of the discs that he has.
Absolutely.
100%, yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is that because of the way disc golf is growing, and you're going to see, I mean, you look at basketball or the other sports, those people are the big names. They bounce back and forth, bounce around. I almost say the onus is on the disc golfer to know that they're going to switch manufacturers and
Yeah.
be ready.
Yeah.
They can't blame the switching of the manufacturer because that's becoming part of the game. But they've got. I mean,
There's
if
added
they're
pressure.
Gonna take that on.
They
then
can't blame it, but there's a difference.
But there's a difference.
Sure,
like
yes.
you can, as you said, bounce back and forth between basketball teams. You're still throwing the same
it's the
basketball.
same
This is
basketball.
true.
the
Same.
court.
I mean, now a better analogy would be our sister sport in golf, whether it's switching
Yeah.
clubs. But I don't know enough about golf to know if that really matters. I mean, those are so customized to the particular player.
Yeah.
I mean, like tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars are spent on research to make sure that club is identical.
Yes.
We don't really have that.
Right.
Well, I mean, and there's a good point on the board right now. Lauren says Paul had Discraft make special discs to mimic his old bag. While that's not exactly true, they are going out of their way to try and make this as comfortable a switch as possible,
Yeah.
and rightly so.
Seems
That
to have
is
worked
a
out for
good
him.
play. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think yes. If we give Ricky, I would not be surprised to see Ricky start to turn it on towards the end of the year.
Sure.
I mean, he could turn it on now and win out, and everyone's gonna be like, "Wow, what a great year!" And everything will be forgotten. It's,
Honestly, if Ricky were to win Worlds this year, people say, "Man, he had a great year."
yeah,
That's
right.
Yeah,
honestly.
Well, and it's funny because we've placed so many expectations on him. He set his own bar very high. He's gone out and won back-to-back world championships, and we expect him to be basically first or second literally every weekend. I mean, we talk about the pressure there.
Yeah,
that
no,
he's
there's
got,
definitely
whether
added
it's on
pressure.
himself or by all of us. I mean, as we all sit around and talk about him, saying, "Well, Ricky, why aren't you finishing first or second every weekend?" Like it, you just talked about the depth of competition here. So it's funny that we can even be wondering what's his problem. You're not first or second.
For those of you that have been on the internet recently, Ricky had a pretty good week and was draining some pretty good putts. It looked like he put down an 80 or 90 foot putt that looked like it was a 12-footer.
Yeah, just
the way
like
just
nice-
a little
nice easy
flick and it
toss.
just went, smash.
Is that the Nick Hyde? That one? Did you see that Nick Hyde? The slow
yeah,
mess
the
putt?
slow
Yeah,
mess
the
that was
12
like a
second
10
Yeah,
slow
second.
mess
yeah.
putt. And just
Ridiculous.
the guy just he's good.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
just
Simon
love
Lizotte,
though-
anyone?
I'm gonna get to that. I just love that there's parity now. The
Yeah.
more parity at the top level, like you could see multiple guys win stuff.
Yep.
Whereas the last few years, probably 12 through 17, it's like, okay, is it gonna be Ricky or is it gonna be Paul?
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
I was like, how much has the course changed since who won it?
Cam Todd?
Cam Todd. Thank you. I was drawing a blank on the name. Since Cam Todd won it, I mean, because Cam isn't
A
known.
decent bit.
Cam Todd isn't
decent.
known as a long thrower, but
he makes every
But he
putt.
makes every putt.
And that's why I said that this is
It's
a
more of a
putter's
putting
course when it's good conditions.
So because we're constantly talking about, well, who are our biggest throwers? I mean,
Yeah, distance.
Kelvin and Ricky and Paul and Kevin Jones and
It's
Double
a long
G.
course.
Yeah,
the
but-
country club is super long, but it is not necessarily going to benefit somebody who can throw the disc 600 feet over somebody who could throw 400 feet.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll agree with that. And like this is going to be weird to say, but so I played a tournament at the country club last year. I'm telling you, on my best day, when I'm really getting a hold of the disc, I'm not throwing it over 450 ever. And we were putting down scores that they're competitive. They wouldn't win the GBO, but what distance does out here is allows you to throw fairway driver on some of the shots instead of
control.
distance driver. So for that reason, that's why somebody like Calvin could shred out here. I watched him throw hole 17 today. New basket over to the right. It's 800 feet or so, and he threw eagle off the tee. I probably 475.
Yeah,
that makes that hole easy. Where I'm having to throw a distance driver to get close to there, and it's just a lot harder to control. So, while it's not necessarily that the holes are so long, it's that long thrower can throw less disc and do it.
Or even mids.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. But having that said, I do not think we see Simon win this week. Simon's an incredible player, no doubt about it. I think Simon, until he stops being more excited about throwing the exciting shot than just about the golf shot, I don't think we see him win very much. And that's not a shot against Simon. He's an incredible disc golfer. But he's still like hole 18 Waco, he throws putter. Ultimately, it didn't matter on the scores. Who cares? It was an incredible shot. I'm glad we got to see it. But that mindset, it's like a daredevil mindset, right? That's, I think, the reason that we probably don't see him win. That's the reason that you are seeing Eagle win, because he stopped trying to do the craziest thing all the time. He can do it when he needs to, but instead he just throws that 400-foot forehand really easily. He throws PD off a bunch of drives instead of PD2 or something really fast. I think until that switch flips in Simon's head, I don't think he wins this event.
All right. Well, switching.
That's what I think.
Flipping switches. I have to ask, if we move over to FPO, has Paige Pierce got her groove back? Is she now where we kind of always expect her to be, with a few of these last few weekends and performances, that kind of that killer instinct, and then stepping up in the pressure situations? Is Paige have all of that momentum as we move into the FPO side?
If Paige is going to win a tournament, it's very much the same for me as Double G. If she's putting well, she's going to win, because she throws out of bounds more than almost any other female, because a lot of those ladies can't reach some of the out of bounds that she's reaching. But sometimes it's just
Paige problems,
trying for too much, whatever. But if her putter's hot, it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yep.
And lately I've been watching her throw some pretty good putts.
Yeah, she's. I think she didn't spend a lot of time in the off season, like really focusing in on her game like she has in the past. Not to say that's bad, but she's been doing other things, thinking about her future.
Yeah.
And I honestly think she's getting her groove back. She's fallen into the driver's seat again. And we have 7 new tee pads for the women this year, short tees, and then 2 short pin positions that they're going to be playing. And I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive. It's funny because I actually went out and played with Denise a couple weeks ago, and she made the comment of, wow, it feels good to actually have a shot at a birdie on this hole. As where before, I'd be struggling to get bogeys. So to actually have that opportunity to score birdies, and I think that mindset's going to help a lot of those, I don't want to say second-tier top FPO players, but those second-tier top FPO players.
Right.
I mean, it's...
The people who aren't at the top every single week.
Exactly. You're going to see some great birdies out there from the FPOs, and I think it's going to be awesome. I hope that they really all enjoy the course. I really do.
What about our other golden Paige in Bjerkes? I mean, does she have an added pressure being here, hometown? Yeah. Does any of that? I mean, she seems unfazed by a lot of that, or is that just
it's called youth.
Covers?
I
I
think she puts on a good face, to be honest.
Sure.
I think Paige Bjerkes, maybe more than almost any other disc golfer I've seen, puts so much pressure on herself.
Agreed.
It's unbelievable. If you walk with her during the round and a shot isn't just perfect, she's trying to beat herself up and be like, okay, what could I do? What could I switch? And I mean, she's an incredible disc golfer, but she just needs to know that, right?
Yeah.
And if a shot isn't perfect, that doesn't mean that she can't still score off of it.
Yeah, sure.
So I do think there's a lot of added pressure here.
She puts a lot on herself.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I assume.
I don't think it's from anybody else.
Yep.
Her parents aren't like that, or I don't even think Emporia people are like, yeah, Paige, we're really rooting for you to win. If you don't, we'll be disappointed. I don't think there's any.
That was actually the headline in the Emporia.
That's
Gazette.
right. The Gazette wrote that recently. But no, I think this course is set up for her to be very, very competitive.
Okay.
She's a good putter. If her putt's feeling good, and it gets a little windy, I think she plays in the wind well. She's got that little baby force over Ballista Pro that she throws. Extremely consistent.
And they'll be playing in the morning.
Yep.
Every day, so I don't think it's going to be too terribly windy for them as well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think on the FPO side, I think you're gonna see at the top, probably in the top 3. I think you see Paige Cat. I know that's no stretch.
Wow.
I know
Robert,
I'm a crazy
Robert,
going on
really?
a
give me
limb.
one more.
I know, but
give me one more.
give me
but
fourth.
I'll
Give us
tell you who
fourth.
the person is that I think will
Fourth
round
on
out
the
the
card.
top 4 and maybe break into the top 3. I don't know. I'm gonna go Rebecca Cox.
Yeah.
Her distance is
I'm telling
there.
you, Rebecca. As soon as she gets that win, it's kind of like Paige Bierkes.
Yeah,
as soon as you
she's
get
got a
that
weight on her
win,
shoulders.
get that monkey off your back, and boom, you're gonna be
and
killing
it was so
it.
close at Nick Hyde before, like with the cancellation. and all
Yeah,
that.
we don't need to talk about all
stuff.
that.
Anyway, I'm just.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
I think Rebecca has the physical tools to do it.
I agree.
Her putt has improved a lot. If you remember a couple of years back, like it's still nose down, it's still hyzer, but used to it was vertical.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's changed up her form a little bit, and
Yep.
she's not
It seems
putting
like
as
she's
much
putting
torque on her back,
less
and-
strain on her shoulder, which she was struggling with. I think it. I don't know if she wins this event, but I think she has the tools to do so.
I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah,
agree.
It will be very competitive, and it'll be great for us to be able to call the shots and watch all the action.
We're gonna be talking together very much.
Yeah.
All right, well, we could keep going on and on about our different opinions, but let's just put it to. Let's hear the predictions.
Okay.
Johnny V. Let's just do top 3 men, top 3 women.
Top 3 men. In order or no specific order?
In order.
Oh, in order. All right. Top 3. I'm gonna go on a little limb. I'm
this.
gonna say Kevin Jones wins.
So I wanted to talk about him. But
I think
It's a great course
I
for
would
him.
love to see him break through in this event.
Yep.
he's only gotten first place in 2 B tiers, and he got 5th place at Las Vegas Challenge, but he got 24th
In his
at
home
Waco
state.
and
Oh.
29th
Yeah.
at the Memorial.
I think he's gonna have a little bit of revenge on his mind, and
Yeah.
I would like to see him. Again, he's same as Double G. If he can putt, he's gonna be dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Macbeth second,
Yep.
and then Emac. What division you playing?
I'm playing with the old guys this week.
Emac first, then
Yes.
no. Third place, I'll go Calvin. I think we're gonna see
Oh, you put Kevin Jones first.
Kevin Jones
recognize that.
first.
Okay,
First
wow.
place. Kevin
Okay.
Jones wins. Macbeth second. Calvin third.
This would be a big win for Kevin
This would be a
Jones.
huge
Oh, yeah.
win.
I
for
think
Kevin.
it's much the same as Rebecca, kind of the monkey on the back.
Yep,
thing.
he's got that monkey. He's got to get it off his back at some point, and I don't see why this couldn't be a great spot for him.
Yep.
What do you got, Robert?
That's good. I'm gonna. Oh
Oh,
man.
wait, we that was just MPO. Right?
That's just MPO.
We'll
It's
do
MPO.
MPO and then FPO.
Yeah,
Man, I think the smart money says Eagle or Macbeth, but I want Calvin. I'm taking Calvin to win.
Do you want Calvin to win?
I definitely want Calvin to win.
Right, but do you think he has the skill set to win?
100%.
Okay,
yeah.
the skill set
Calvin
in
has-
his environment and how he's
Yes,
been playing.
yes. I'm saying there was a debate a while back, like, can you be considered an elite disc golfer if you're not consistently finishing in the top 5? I think yes. A bunch of people said no, but I would say Calvin, without finishing in the top 5 every single weekend, is absolutely an elite disc golfer. He has an elite skill set, probably in the top 1% of the top pros. He is incredible. So yes,
player rating says that too.
yeah. I mean, what is he? 1040 something now?
1044,
1044.
roughly.
I think Calvin absolutely
Give or
has the
take.
skill set to make it happen. He's incredible. So I'm gonna take Calvin first. I'm gonna take Eagle second, and man, I mean the smart money's on Macbeth, but that's not very fun, is it?
It's why I picked Kevin first, because
Yeah.
picking Macbeth first is great of a player as he is, and he hopefully he hears this and just rubs it in all of our faces.
Right.
When he wins by 15 strokes
Yeah.
or something silly, it just doesn't feel. It feels too easy.
I'm struggling for a third that isn't Macbeth. I'm gonna say Macbeth, but I would love to see another name up there that we don't see much. I love if if I didn't have insider knowledge, I would say I would love to see somebody like AJ Risley in third, because he played great out here last year. I think he fell a little bit off the last round, but he finished like 8th or 9th or something. And his game looks better this year than it did last year. Kind of injured his finger a little bit earlier in the week. So he's
Skip Ace exclusive.
Yeah, I know. He's not. I don't think it's going to affect his game much, but mentally it might affect him a little bit. So I'll take Macbeth in third.
All right, what do you got, Terry?
Oh, we're skipping you. You get off easy.
I always get to do last.
Oh, okay.
He's the host, Terry. Don't take away his job.
Gosh. Again. Okay. No. So. Yeah, like you guys were saying, obviously Paul Macbeth has to be in that conversation. He's clearly getting more and more comfortable every single weekend. Without an exact order, I'm going to throw out the names Paul Macbeth, Kelvin, and I'm going to say Josh Anthon.
I saw that name.
Really?
I almost said that.
And here's why. Josh Anthon proved, and some of you may think, well, where has he been and how's he done this year? It hasn't been overly, knock your socks off impressive like we've seen in years past. But then you rewind to a place like a Utah Open last year where it was all about keeping it in bounds. Mm-hmm. And it was all about having that controlled distance of you throwing far enough, that 450, and then having a perfectly fine approach game, and then obviously having a killer putt. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me.
Is he good at putting? I
don't know. I mean, the 2011 Speed Putting World Championships on the wharf in Santa Cruz would maybe say I'm better than him, but that's just a title that I've heard about. So, but
it's just the legend.
Did I get that in there? Was that subtle enough?
So,
okay.
I'm waiting for you to throw in your Glow World Championship.
No, I'm not going to talk about 2008 in Kalamazoo Glow World Championships.
Oh, a cold sore.
Yes, exactly. In the dark, I may have beat everyone. So, no, what I do want to say, though, is I think Josh Anthon, it's easy to overlook him at this point because he hasn't wowed us this year.
Sure.
But solid putting, enough distance, and then the control.
450 on command easy. That's fine out here.
So those were the names I'll throw out.
Man, those are some good names.
Yeah.
Somebody else that you kind of described, you could have been describing James Conrad.
Yes, and I'm gonna throw one in there that I really wavered on. There's no reason Chris Dickerson's not in this conversation. Obviously,
He's
Bro
another
can
one.
play the golf.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah.
He's good.
Man, yeah, it's tough. Obviously, I'm going with an Eagle to win because, I've been watching him play.
Yep.
He's been killing it. Returning champ, Eagle.
Breakout event here was here a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard not to pick him.
The big distance that we talk about not being super important, 18, that's
big.
Easiest birdie in the world, maybe an Eagle. So
to finish the day.
Right there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then obviously going to go with I'm going to go with Paul.
Yeah.
Ulibarri.
Oh, I knew it.
Switch it up.
Switch it up a little bit.
Switch it up.
Switch it up. The kid has got, you've talked about momentum, but the kid's got confidence right now. And I say kid, he's like in his 30s now, but he's always a kid to me.
30,
he will always be a kid to me. But he's just got this confidence about him, and he's been playing great this year.
Yep.
And these courses do set up to him because he throws that nice, super hard flat shot and hits putts, and that's what it takes to win.
Yep.
So I'm going with Yuli.
Has he won this once?
He has not won this. He came that one year.
Right there.
He's been right there the year of Team Smash Dinosaur. You remember that year? I don't even know if you were here for that. That was when Ulibarri, Derek Billings, and what's his name that moved to Thailand?
Luke Butch.
Luke Butch, yeah, sorry. They came out in an RV,
None
and
of
they were
this
calling
sounds
us
good.
all dinosaurs and whatnot. It was very disrespectful, actually. But
Okay.
but they didn't win. I think Doss won that year, but
Okay.
2011, look it up. But no, and then, of course, Macbeth.
Okay.
Have to go with Macbeth as a third, so.
I'm going to go ahead and just say Macbeth is going to win it.
Wow.
It's just for obvious reasons.
Big time stretch.
And I want to be his best friend, so.
Oh, yeah.
When he listens to this, like I know he does.
Call
regular.
me, Paul.
Yeah, so.
He's live right now.
Call me maybe. And then second place, I'm going to go with Simon Lizotte. And then my third place is going to be, I'm looking at last year's, of course, I know there's changes and stuff like that. I know people who I'd like to see up there.
Sure.
But as far as who's been playing well and I think Eagle will pull it out and get the third. So I'm going, and I know these are easy.
No. I'm not going to say anything like that.
What?
Dark horse pick.
A dark horse pick?
Dustin Keegan,
Dude.
Oh,
who's
yeah.
been playing really well,
That's good.
and he for whatever reason, this time of the year he gets really hot.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason he fades off towards the end of the year. I know he's got different priorities and he does other things, but that guy's been playing some phenomenal golf. It would not shock me to see him up on one of the top 2 cards that final day.
I think it has
I'm gonna
something
go
to do
with that.
with his personal pH balance and then the water that's
And the
provided
water here,
here.
I agree.
I think there's something
That very
there.
well could be.
Or I could have just made that up. But we're going to go with pH balance.
Okay.
I like that.
All right, let's quickly. I know we're running
okay.
into Smashbox
Dark horse.
territory.
No.
I'm gonna take
I know,
I'm gonna take
jeez.
AJ as my dark horse.
You would.
He can do it. He can do it out here. I like it. Secondary dark horse Emerson Keith.
The dark horse.
Super long thrower. He's another one. If his putt is on, man, he can string him together like almost nobody else.
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing dark horses
Oh,
now.
yeah.
I just threw that out there. I didn't realize we were gonna make a thing of
Yeah,
it.
we don't need
Well, hustle
Okay.
up then.
All right, then I'm just gonna say Eric Oakley.
I like that.
Ooh.
Hey, he is committed.
Well, yeah, he
He's
went
been
out
working hard.
He was the first person on the course yesterday.
Yep.
What?
Sunrise.
Yeah, 6:30. I think you said he was going out there.
He was
to
out
do
there
it.
a half an hour before the course
he
even
sure
opened.
was.
That's commitment.
Okay.
EO, my boy. He's
I
gonna
like
throw Emac Truce for the win.
I love it.
What's up?
Are we ready? Are we ready to move on to?
Yeah.
Sure, let's do FPO.
FPO.
Okay, let's start with Eric McCabe, FPO.
Paige, Cat.
That order.
Simple.
I mean, it's hard not to. If we're just picking 3,
Yep.
I mean, I
But which pay? I mean, where are you putting who, where, what?
Yes.
I'm gonna put Paige in first. I'm gonna put Paige in second, and then Cat in third.
Paige, Zoe.
Oh,
Good one.
hey,
Zoe's been playing well too.
Nice.
Solid.
Yep.
Which Zoe?
What's doing?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go a little bit more old school, and I'm gonna go
Des Reddy.
Yeah, I was gonna go Des, Corver, and Elaine King.
Oh man,
Those are
Des is staying at my house, so I'll tell her you said that.
okay. There you go. That seems like a fair pick. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can't say one of the 2 pages. Is Jen Allen here to compete as well?
I think so.
I'm sorry, I haven't looked at the. I think of course you have to think about her distance and some of the advantage that could bring, but I don't think she's here.
I don't think she is.
She's
And
on the list.
And Katrina,
She is here.
She's on the list. 7:40
okay.
tee time.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, yeah, she's-
right there,
And
look.
that's not to
There you
say
go.
that Katrina. I don't think Katrina's going to be right there in the mix as well. But Vanessa Van Dyken's coming off a win from last weekend. Missy Gannon, we know
Missy
she's
Gannon.
Jessica Weiss. I mean, that's obviously a great name. Happy birthday today, Jessica. By the way. And then
Past champion.
past champion, co-champion.
Yep.
That's right. Past co-champion.
Yes.
Hannah.
See.
Yep.
Yep. Is Haley King ready to bust things out? I don't know. She was in contention this
She was in
weekend.
contention and was in Iowa.
Yep, over at the Rumble.
Yep.
So I just think you have to have Katrina with all of the skills that she has to round things out. I think you have to have Katrina round out that top 3.
Yep. I'll go Paige, Cat, Paige.
Okay.
Bobby?
I'm gonna go the 2 pages, and then. Did anybody say? Nobody said Rebecca Cox for third, right?
No,
Not for this,
no,
no.
but
I'm gonna go
we
Rebecca
all
Cox.
said
I
she
would love
could.
to see her up there. I think she could do it.
I think she can do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she has been, doing well. I think she's got her discs that she likes down. Because she recently switched to Latitude 64. But
Sure, last year. She's
Yeah.
been
Was
at
it
it for a
last
little
year?
while.
It was
Yeah.
all
Okay.
last year.
Yeah.
so I think she'll be up there in third.
Nice.
Is that
Sweet.
everybody?
That's everybody.
Sounds like it.
And then in
Everybody.
Masters, Steve Rico or Eric McCabe.
Oh,
Steve Rico for sure.
Eric's gonna go ahead and put his pick in
Hey,
there.
what are you putting with this week?
We'll talk about that next week.
Okay, sweet. Still trying to.
You still
figure it
trying
out?
to figure it out?
No, I've got a putter that I'm working on that I've been putting very well with.
This
Okay.
is awkward. It's a clutch.
Yeah, we don't have to talk
it's
about it.
actually,
We're gonna talk
It's
about it.
actually a clutch by Legacy, right? Is that,
I said we'll talk about it next week.
All right, well, we're gonna wrap things up. I think it's been almost 2 hours.
a little longer
so
than
we're at
that.
halftime.
Yeah.
2.5 hours. So
Doing hay.
there's something with these two guys here that makes you want to just talk and talk and talk. No, actually, it's been a fantastic time. I've loved doing this. This is really cool. I'm glad we were able to do this. Had a really great time. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube or listening audio, make sure you check out glassboneopen.com/follow online, I believe is the link. It has all the links that has to Smashbox Live now, and then of course Johnny V has sent us over links to get us ready. I'll be pushing those out on our social media. Joe Miss Pro is going to be covering post-production. Anthony and Danny have been getting better and better and better, and they're going to pump out MPO3. Gatekeeper Media came in
Huge clutch.
huge.
Give them the shout out.
Yes, make sure you go subscribe to them because they're going to be covering FBO2 when we thought we weren't going to have that coverage. So yeah, and I'm going to keep saying this over and over again. This is going to be the most covered disc golf event you've ever seen. Even now with hole 16, more
even
coverage.
more coverage.
Even more coverage.
OMG.
The
So-
first ever
Bonus footage.
2 YouTube channel tournament, hopefully.
go.
I like it.
We're going to put
Hopefully.
that on a plaque somewhere. So yeah, so good
Perfect.
stuff. So anyway, so we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you again, guys, so much. Do you want any parting words for our listeners?
No, thanks for having us. This was a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the after show.
After
show.
I can't imagine we have any listeners that don't listen to the Smashbox, but for
Just
the
in
one or
case.
just for the one or two of you that have never heard of Smashbox, I highly recommend you going out to smashbox.tv, correct? Is that still a thing?
That'll get you there.
Yeah,
They're looking at each other.
Yeah,
Did you
you
pay
can
the
also
bill?
just-
Did you pay?
You can also just do it on
We actually
YouTube.
had some issues with our domain host for a while, and we moved it to a good friend of ours who had got a lot of stuff taken care of now. So
Okay.
thanks, shout out to
Is
Tony.
that still? But is that a
But
home?
it is working, and you can find us live
right.
every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Central.
Yes, or as Robert said, just go to YouTube and search Smashbox TV, and you'll find everything. And of course, the disc golf guy, his solo thing he's got going on.
Solo.
Everybody good? Any last minute things you just got to get off your chest?
In-game Friday night.
Oh,
That's right.
yeah.
In game Friday night.
Ball and socket.
We could have a whole nother in game discussion
Oh.
or Game of Thrones. Okay.
Hey, but
I watched it last night
Hey.
in the car.
Hey, but
Danny's gone.
Exit stage left for Danny.
but let's,
Danny go.
let's
He go.
not do that.
Let's not do that. So, all right, guys. For myself, Terry Miller, Eric McCabe, Johnny Van,
I'm
And Robert
just for
Mc-
one person, Jonathan Van Derzen. Okay.
This is why Robert's paid the big bucks. That's why we bring him in to commentate.
Yeah.
Hey, and for all you people who say I'm saying Paul Ulibarri incorrectly, I asked the man himself. That's how he said it to me the first time I met him. I've been saying it the same since. Shut up.
Oh.
Keep it real. Don't turn on the.
don't keep it real.
Okay, go
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next show.
See you guys. Thanks for having
Thanks,
us.
everybody.
Danny, can you stop the live feed?
Danny gone.
Oh, Danny gone.
Now I get to play. After.
Guys, I'm stoked. It's gonna be a good week.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great one, man. Looking forward to it.